not only benefits the minority communities, it benefits the entire community. Um, one thing I want to just talk about is your role here at the RNC and some of the things that we both do. A lot of people don't realize that under the leadership of Ronna McDaniel, our chairwoman,
Mm.
we have had a very robust and aggressive and strategic effort to do engagement with minority communities. Talk about some of the things that you've done in your role here at the RNC.
Oh, that excites me the most because, I'm so grateful to serve under our chairwoman. I've traveled with her before,
Hmm.
and I can see the genuine reaction that she has every single time that she meets someone at an event or at a community get together. She sat down in round tables, and I've seen her participate and absorb the experience, the experience that people are trying to convey to her as far as like what's happening in the community.
Right.
She listens, and then she takes all that knowledge and she applies it correctly, and that's how we've seen our grassroots effort
Right.
grow the way it has because of her knowledge. Every single time she travels a lot,
Yes.
a lot. So every single time that she goes to these communities and that she hears what people's concerns are and what they want out of this administration, she takes that knowledge, she shares that with the right people. And that's how the RNC has grown into what it has grown. She has to give us the secret for
Yeah.
her fundraising records because
Right.
it's just out of this world.
It is out of this world. And the thing I love about our chairwoman the most is the fact that she understands. I mean, she was the former chair of the Michigan
Yeah.
party that unprecedented effort to have President Trump win the state of Michigan. I think he'll do it again. But when you look at her commitment to engagement, she wants everybody to be voting. She wants to be reaching out to everyone. And so what we have the great pleasure of doing is taking the Republican message, taking President Trump's message to diverse communities where they read it, whether it's radio or television or even newspapers. We're there. We're engaging with these publications and these outlets because it's important to get the word out and get the
Yes.
message to them. And we're also registering voters. The Republican National Committee has registered more in 2020 than we did in the whole 2016 cycle. I
Mhm.
mean, we're on the ground. We have engagement centers. We have these community centers for the Black Voices for Trump
Oh, the efforts this
and
year
Hispanic.
are like second to none.
Yeah, it's
We've worked
real.
so
They're
yes.
real efforts.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And if you go into the states, it's important to recognize the people that work at a local level
Right.
in places like Florida, like Nevada, like in every single state. We've seen the effort of our team, of our local team, and obviously from here at the HQ, we work every single day. We do interviews, we take the message out there, and the hardest working person in this building is our chairwoman. She goes into every single interview with the right answers. We've seen all the traveling that we were talking about that she's done across the country, all the meetings that she's been, and every single effort is to re-elect President Trump because
Right.
she believes, and we believe in the policies that this president has for this nation that are so important for communities like ours, Paris.
I was so impressed to see that the RNC has been so serious about the engagement effort, the campaign as well. And
Yeah.
you've seen the chairwoman write op-eds that have gone to Hispanic
Yes.
publications and Black-owned newspapers. And we did an event with the Black Economic Alliance. She just said, yes, let's do it, a live stream. She is all in for
Yeah.
engagement because it's serious. And Yala, you know that as much as I do,
And
we
we do
have
it all bilingual. We
right.
do it all
And
bilingual.
bilingual
Yes,
as well. This
yes,
is fantastic because we're taking the party in different languages
yes.
because we want to reach people where they are. This party, under this president, President Trump, we have a winning message because he has been a champion for minority communities. He has put policies, not just rhetoric, but policies in place that have benefited us. And I just am excited to be here. I'm excited about the election. I'm excited about having you as a colleague and to see what we're going to be able to do uh, from now until the election. And so I encourage all of you, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, go to the GOP website, GOP.com. I know,
Mhm.
Yala, you have a Twitter account
A Twitter account,
for
Jolly Nuñez.
Yala, as well as the Latino for
Oh,
RNC.
the RNC Latinos. That's a Twitter account that we've developed, and every single message that we have in our GOP Twitter account, we also have in Spanish and English in
Yeah,
RNC Latinos. And I think it's so important to reach out to our community in both languages, or we even have for the Asian Pacific
absolutely.
as well. We send it in different languages. I mean, the RNC's efforts are second to none. we are in this to win it, and
Yes.
we will do it in November 3rd.
We are in it to win it, and we're going to win in November 3rd because we have the president and who has the leadership, the record, and the passion to make this country great. We are on the great American comeback, and we can do that with President Trump. So, Yali, thank you for your time. It's
Thank
great
you
talking
so
to
much.
you.
Of course. Thank you so much, and the same, Paris.
Hello from Western Colorado. I'm Lauren Boebert, a proud Republican. I'm a mom to 4 young men who I refuse to send into a socialist country. I'm running to represent the farmers, ranchers, steelworkers, and all of the proud Americans in Colorado's 3rd Congressional District who understand we are in a battle for the heart and soul of our country. This is a battle you and I must win. Last fall, I put my Glock on my hip and I told Beto O'Rourke, hell no, he isn't taking our guns. I learned right then, I'm not just a business owner or a mom or a gun owner. I'm a proud American with a strong voice and a strong fight in me that can help take our country back. My name is Lauren Boebert. With your help, I'm going to Washington to fight for our freedom, fight for our prosperity, and put all those left-wing lunatics back where they belong. Join me at laurenforcolorado.com. God bless each and every one of you.
When I was 15, I was severely burned in a kitchen fire. During my hospitalization, my caretakers inspired me to become a doctor. In a family with 8 kids, my parents didn't have the means to send me to college, so I decided to set out on my own. I left home at 16, got a job, enrolled in community college, and worked my way through school. At 18, I enlisted in the United States Army and served a total of 24 years, retiring as a lieutenant colonel. I became a nurse and eventually graduated from medical school and became a physician. After I served as president of the Iowa Medical Society, Governor Branstad asked me to lead the Iowa Department of Public Health, and now I'm a state senator. You see, I never gave up on my American dream. I never quit believing that tomorrow can be better than yesterday. As a doctor, military veteran, public health official, and a mother, I stand ready to go to work for you. I will never quit fighting for Iowa, and I will never quit fighting for you. Join us in this campaign, and we will reopen America and return to greatness together.
The 2020 election is about courage. My name is Jeannie Ives. I'm a West Point graduate, a mother of 5, a U.S. Army veteran, a former state representative, and now a candidate for Congress in the Illinois 6th Congressional District. This year, we were thrown into crisis. We have a choice to make. We can elect leaders who are hiding like Biden, who pretend that avoiding difficult situations and canceling everything they disagree with is progress. Or we can elect those with courage to stand on the front lines, offer solutions, and take the heat that comes with it. In 2020, we have seen the Democrats' worldview play out: grow government power and put Americans on public aid rather than opening up opportunities, tear down statues to appease rioters, board up businesses to prevent looting, defund the police, and, of course, refuse to debate so they don't have to defend any of it. This battle either ends in our total submission to an extreme ideology or in a bold display of courage and confidence in the goodness of American values. We do not have to agree on everything, but there can be no disagreement about who is promoting radical ideology, corruption, and instability in 2020. Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Democrats in my home state of Illinois, like Sean Casten, Lori Lightfoot, and Kim Foxx, are synonymous with chaos. They have destroyed a world-class city and expect that you, across the nation, bail them out. I have always stood on the front lines against the far left in Illinois and stood up for those that I represent. In 2020, I am asking you to join me. Be courageous. Our future depends on it.
Hello, I'm Michelle Fischbach, and I'm running for Congress in Minnesota's 7th District. I am proud to have President Trump's complete and total endorsement. The 7th District is Trump country. The president won by 30 points in 2016, and we know he is going to win again. But this district is the most Trump district in the country that is represented by a Pelosi voting Democrat in Congress. a Democrat who has spent 30 years pretending to be a conservative, but is really a top supporter of Nancy Pelosi and her radical left-wing agenda. Minnesota's 7th District is huge. It's bigger than West Virginia, South Carolina, or Maine, with over 50,000 miles of roads from Canada almost all the way down to Iowa. That's enough to go around the world twice. I spent a lot of time on these roads, meeting people who support President Trump and love our country. The most important road is the one that Minnesota's 7th District is on, the road to take back Congress, the road to fire Nancy Pelosi and her cronies, the road to give President Trump a Congress that will work with him to keep America great. Please join me on this road by going to fischbachforcongress.com.
This is Congresswoman Virginia Foxx from the 5th District of North Carolina. I hope you're safe and healthy. I wish we could be together for this convention, but we can't because of conditions beyond our control. But I commend the RNC for putting together the convention virtually. This is the most important election of our lifetime. It is so critical that we re-elect President Trump and Vice President Pence. They have done a wonderful job in their 3.5 years in office, and we need to continue their ability to make this country great again. But we must elect all Republicans who are running at the state and local levels. Please work harder than you've ever worked before to elect our governor, our senator, our legislators, our judges. We depend on all of you to do what is necessary to do. May God bless you, and may he continue to bless our great country. Thank you.
I'm Shelley Farley, candidate for Congress in New York's 18th District. I'm an engineer. I know how to fix things. But ever since the Democrats took back the House, they're focused on obstruction and destruction. It's easy to tear things apart. It's a lot harder to rebuild them. Meeting the challenges of COVID is going to take hard work, cooperation. I'm a businesswoman. I know how to negotiate deals in the boardroom. I will work with President Trump to rebuild our economy and bring our country back. Join me at shellfarley.com.
Hi, I'm Christina Hagan, the Republican nominee in Ohio's 13th Congressional District. I am proud to be the daughter, sister, and wife to the trades. I grew up in the apartment above our family's small heating and plumbing business, going on service calls my entire life. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college, and in my capstone semester, I became the youngest woman to serve in the history of the Ohio House of Representatives. And I am immensely proud to be endorsed and supported and fully backed by President Donald J. Trump. As a working class mother of 3, I am so proud to help fight and combat the things that are compromising and hurting our country. And I'm proud to stand beside a working class champion like President Trump and to fight alongside him to ensure that my children have a bright future in this country. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the RNC.
I'm Nicole Malliotakis, and I'm running for Congress in Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn, New York. As President Trump said, this is Trump country. I'm running because New York City needs a strong Republican voice in Congress, and because Congress needs a strong Republican voice from New York City. Sadly, New York has been at the front lines of the radical pro-crime agenda. We've seen the effect of ending bail and letting dangerous criminals out of jail. I'm standing with President Trump and the New York Police Department to take back our neighborhoods from the criminals and the liberal Democrats who are empowering them. As the daughter of a Greek immigrant and a Cuban refugee who fled the Castro regime, I grew up learning about the horrors of socialism and the greatness of America. My parents instilled in me the conservative values of hard work, personal responsibility, and public service, lessons I used to help our community rebuild after Hurricane Sandy devastated my district. I'm Nicole Malliotakis, and I can't wait to work with President Trump to restore law and order to our cities, rebuild our nation's economy, and preserve the American dream for future generations.
You ask anybody in there whether or not the economic and foreign policy of this administration has made them better off in the last 8 years. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we can insure every single solitary kid. We can provide catastrophic health insurance right off the bat. We can do that for the cost of just one thing. The tax cut for people in the top 1%. And with I don't know,
You got to give them to the people who are going to spend the money. You got to deal with making sure American companies can be competitive, have a health care plan that doesn't put them at a disadvantage when they compete overseas.
There's during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called the.
As a mother of 4 in a world where our constitutional rights are constantly under attack, I will continue to support President Donald J. Trump, who has proven to us that he cares about the American people, that he will ensure the safety of our children, and will ensure that they have their constitutional God-given rights. In 2020, I ask you to go to the polls and vote for President Donald Trump.
I support Donald Trump because he's for the American people. He stands against the corruption that has been going on for far too long in our government. He stands up for my constitutional rights and the rights of the unborn who do not have a voice. I feel in America, we are one election away from experiencing communism, and the only person standing in the way of that is Donald Trump. I choose freedom. I choose Donald Trump.
My husband and I live in Greenville, and I support President Trump for re-election. I feel safe with President Trump in the White House, safe not only for myself, but for my children and my grandchildren. President Trump shares the same values that I have for America.
It's been an honor to watch President Trump serve for the last 4 years. He's done an amazing array of things for the American people. As a mother, I am especially pleased that he signed an executive order protecting free speech on college campuses, and that he worked so hard to keep our nation free and prosperous. I can't wait to see what President Trump does when he wins in November.
I am seeing that similar energy in the states that we're in across the country. So I feel very good about where we are heading into November.
Today, people gathered to celebrate the opening of a Trump Victory Field office in Rochester.
Harrisonburg and the Rockingham GOP opened its doors for their fall campaign today. This morning, the Trump field office opened in Manchester with volunteers welcoming back in-person campaigning.
I really have to give a shout out to our chairwoman, to the president, to the delegates, and all the state parties who have continually tried to figure out a way to make this happen.
When the COVID pandemic hit kind of its height in Minnesota, everyone was sheltered in place. We were reaching people via phone, via digital, via email. And now that things are opening up again, we're out back hitting people's doors, putting together events, bringing people together.
Team Trump has its eyes on November, out today laying the groundwork to register new Republican voters.
In Phoenix, Arizona, this group of Latinos for Trump are out knocking on doors.
Realmente él ha sido muy buen presidente.
He has been a great president, says Colombian immigrant Monica Yelling, who is committed to dedicating her time and energy to re-electing President Trump.
We have 1,500 staff on the ground. We've trained close to 1.5 million volunteers. So you're seeing stories about us outpacing Democrats on voter registration. You're seeing Democrats raising warning flags that Joe Biden has no ground game. The investment we made early in these states is paying off because we're already seeing that pay dividends with voter registration, turning out our vote, and organizing towards November for this all too critical election.
Currently have the largest ground game we've ever seen in New Mexico on the Republican side being executed as we speak.
I've knocked on over 500 doors now and talked to dozens of people.
The support is very strong on the ground. We know President Trump has unified the Republican Party like we've never seen.
Supporters of President Trump cheering as this bus carrying several recognizable Trump surrogates pulls in.
Iowa Republicans held their own event over the weekend in Waukee. They say President Trump is the person they need in the White House for 4 more years.
You could hear cheers and screams and people honking horns, just excited to have 45 in town.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we're just very thankful that he's here in the Permian Basin.
From now until November, the president, the RNC, and the campaign will continue to contrast the clear record of achievement that he has and the lack of achievement that Joe Biden has.
You know, the president always says the best is yet to come, and we're going to lay that out as to what 4 more years will be of President Trump.
All right, everybody, how's everybody doing this afternoon? Welcome to the Conservative Take. And if you were here with us yesterday, you missed out on the live stream that we did. That was, I thought, pretty good. It was our first time doing this type of format, and I think we're going to try the same thing today with less mistakes. But for the people who are listening to us right now, if you're just first time here, my name is Kyle, and this is the Conservative Take, where we take culture, TV, movies, and politics, and we filter it to you the right way. So what I want to do is I don't want to just talk too much right now. I was going to come back a little bit to talk about some things about yesterday, but the live stream is going on right now. We're feeding it right through the RNC, and I was going to prepare some articles to talk about. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to play the stream and come back probably in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because the actual start isn't until 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So, but I do want to come in a little bit before that to talk about yesterday, unpack a few things, and answer any questions that we may have. Again, welcome to the Conservative Take. This is a YouTube channel. We have a presence on the internet as well, but mainly it's a YouTube channel that hopes to take the content that we see and put it in the lens of conservatism. Because what's happening nowadays, as you know, everything is being hard left. And unfortunately, many people are fleeing that. And the topics that I try to focus on are cultural topics. But like I said yesterday, this is an election year and President Trump just has to be elected. So a lot of the focus has been on him and the election and the campaign, but it will be other things going forward. So without that, I'm going to kick back on the feed. And again, welcome everyone who is here. And I'll catch you back in about 10 or 15 minutes. And ma'am, how are you doing? Oh, one more thing. If you are on here and you want to chat with me privately, what I can do, I can take comments and post them on the screen right here like this. And if you want to say something that's, a question to me, you don't want me putting it on the air for everyone to see, just put asterisks before or after your comment, or just mention in your comment, just, hey, just for your eyes only, whatever, just so that I won't put it on the screen. And so some people want their privacy that way. So I will look, and I will try to remind people along the way, but that's what I want to do. And at some point, I'm going to figure out how to take call-ins through the phone, but that's not going to happen this week at all. So, okay. So with that, again, thank you so much. I am humbled that you guys even want to spend time with us. I will go over the speakers as they come up. I'll give a list of those and who we can expect. Not quite sure when that order is going to be, but we'll go over that when I come back in about 15 minutes, probably about 8:18 Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you then.
Great American flag. We stand tall, we stand proud, and we only kneel to Almighty God.
I was trying to say that it looks like we may be going live. If we go live with the RNC feed, I'll just let this thing go on and I won't interrupt until they have a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Johnstown, New York is the hometown of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, considered to be one of the most important voices of the women's suffrage movement.
Here began 70 years of struggle that won the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing the right to vote.
It was because of the courage of Stanton and women like her that the next generation of women succeeded in winning the right to vote. As Elizabeth Cady Stanton proclaimed,
"We now demand our right to vote according to the Declaration of Government under which we live. The right is ours. Have it we must.
Use it we will." The 100-year anniversary of women's suffrage is a celebration of equality and a commemoration of our democracy.
It is kind of poignant to think that 100 years ago, we passed the 19th Amendment and Elizabeth Cady Stanton was on the forefront of fighting for the right for women to vote, and she never was able to vote herself. She never realized that. So she died before that happened. And as we're fighting for things now, we may not know the impact we're having. We may not know the difference we're making 100 years from now, but hopefully it's leading to a place where America is better and that women are continuing to succeed and progress beyond our wildest dreams.
And I think it's important as we turn out to vote this November 2020, 100 years since the 19th Amendment ratification and passage, that we remember as Republicans, it was the Republican Party that advocated and fought for women's suffrage. So this is something that as a Republican, I'm incredibly proud of, and Republican voters and the American people should be proud of that, how integral the Republican Party was in terms of fighting for women's suffrage.
Thinking about that when Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris.
I picked a woman to be vice president.
And he said, I'm bringing this woman on the ticket to appeal to women voters. And there's nothing about her policies that appeal to me as a suburban woman voter. And we got here because of our merit. It's not because he put a placeholder there and said it needs to be a woman to fill this spot. Democrats think we're one-issue voters, we're single-issue voters. We care about the whole country and every aspect of it. I think that's part of President Trump's appeal, is he recognizes women as the whole voter. We are half of the country, and it is important that our voices be heard. Treat me like the whole voter, and that's what I hope that I do as party chair. I know that's what you do in Congress.
Absolutely. And I think about 100 years ago, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, who were fighting for women's right to vote. I feel just so honored to be able to live my version of the American dream. This is all about strengthening and preserving the American dream for all men and women across the country.
And I know when I go to vote this year, I'm going to think about Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. 100 years later, I would love for women to put Donald Trump over the edge and help reelect him as president in 2020, 100 years after we passed the 19th Amendment.
I'm a mom, and I support President Trump. I support our president because he has kept his word by appointing Supreme Court and other federal judges who align with my conservative values. I support our president because I want my children to reap the opportunities of his record-breaking economic advancements. I support our president because he puts America first. He supports our veterans and our law enforcement. which is especially important to me at a time when rioters, looters, and arsonists are being allowed to run rampant in some of our cities. I support our president because I value economic opportunities, law and order, safety and security, and freedom of religion. There is no other choice.
Why Kamala Harris isn't the answer for America? Well, when I reflect on leadership, I reflect on lasting contributions and legacy. I don't know about you, but there's nothing going on in California that even remotely resembles what we want for our country. Beyond that, 2 words: mass incarceration. Ms. Harris has a lot to answer for there. I simply don't know the policies that she's seeking to advance that would make America better. Kamala's not the choice for us, but Trump 2020 is.
My name is Colleen from Ohio, and I've had the wonderful privilege of homeschooling my 6 children. And like President Trump, I believe in school choice, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the right to bear arms. I am also pro-life as he is. I have been excited about what he accomplished in the first term, and I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do for America in his second.
I supported President Trump in 2016, and I'm so glad I did. He's proven himself to be a great leader. He's a wonderful patriot, and he loves his country. As a working mom, I struggle, as most Americans do, but President Trump gets it. He understands what we're going through. He's fighting for us. He's putting together trade deals. He's creating jobs. He's cutting taxes. He's fighting for us, fighting for our success. And I want to be part of that continued success. I will be voting for him again in November.
President Donald Trump has my vote because he's pro-life and he stands up for the American people. As a mom and grandmother, I'm concerned about the future of America. Donald Trump is the man to lead us into the future. He has shown us that because he brought back jobs and he took us out of bad trade agreements. And then, of course, he stands up for the founding principles that made America great. Join me in supporting Donald Trump.
Hi, I'm Katie, and this is my family. I am a proud MAGA mom because there is no other president that is more pro-life, more pro-law and order, and more pro-America than President Donald Trump. We are so fortunate that he is our president today, and I firmly believe he is the leader we need for the next 4 years.
Election day is quickly approaching, and we cannot wait to go to the polls to re-elect President Donald J. Trump. But Democrats are doing everything they can to meddle in our process. That is why we at the RNC doubled our legal budget, and I am so happy to talk about how important it is to protect the vote with the most litigious chairman in RNC history, Chairwoman
I love
McDaniel.
that title, most litigious chair. I love that title.
But it's so accurate, but it's
accurate.
so true. And we have to be there
Yep.
in the courts because Democrats, they're not trying to win the argument at the ballot box. They're trying to maneuver and change the system of how we vote. Why is this issue so important?
Yeah, and I'm not the most litigious chair on purpose. We
Exactly.
are literally combating Democrats filing lawsuit after lawsuit in states to eliminate election safeguards. And it's really disturbing that in this uncertain time with a really divided country that they're trying to take away things that let us feel certainty in our election process. So we're fighting things like signature verification that they want to remove, voter ID laws. They want to expand ballot harvesting. I have no idea how that has anything to do with coronavirus, people going door to door and touching each other and touching each other's ballots. I think that has nothing to do with safety. So we're in 41 lawsuits across the country. And we're fighting the Democrats every step of the way. And I love how you plugged our website, protectthevote.com.
We have to keep people updated on this because it's such an important issue. And if we don't have confidence in the outcome, that will just destroy our whole system. And for people who have been for years now screaming how fragile the system was, suddenly they want to send out all these ballots with no safeguards, completely change the absentee system, and then add ballot harvesting on top of it. How is that appropriate for a first world country to go vote?
It's really shocking. I mean, first of all, I think we should all have voter ID. I don't know why we've gotten to this place where not having an ID to vote is acceptable. We have to have it to get on a plane, to get into a federal building, to get into the Democrat National Convention, but we don't have to do it to vote. One of our most sacred duties as Americans, and we want everyone who's eligible to vote to be able to vote, but we don't want people to be voting more than once or to introduce any type of fraud to the system. I actually talked to a woman yesterday who said, I have received 3 ballots to my home in California, 3 ballots, not absentee requests, live ballots, because this is what Democrats are fighting for, of a woman with a different name who doesn't even live here. She has received 3 different ballots to my home. How does that not leave the room open for fraud? So while the media is continuing to double down on the talking points of the Democrat Party, if Republicans were doing this, they would take a totally different stance. And just factually taking the partisanship out of it, what they are doing is actually introducing chaos into our election process. You do not change election processes 90 days out and expect everything to run flawless. And that's why Florida, where the president's voting absentee, is safer because they're not changing their process. So he feels comfortable voting absentee. But other states in the late hours are bringing legislatures and governors together to fundamentally shift how they've conducted elections for years and think it'll just be okay 90 days from now.
And we've seen these experiments be a total failure in
Yes.
New York City, in Paterson, New Jersey, Clark County, Nevada. You had ballots literally winding up in the trash, just littering the streets. And it's good that you mentioned Florida as well, because they have had a system for a very long time. Democrats, these far left groups, go in and say, no, we want to change the system and legalize ballot harvesting. But this is why we're here to meet them in court. And we had a Clinton appointed judge strike that lawsuit down. And we
won in Florida. We've had a big one in New Mexico. In Pennsylvania, we're able to watch the absentee process. We are fighting the Democrats in Wisconsin. They tried to keep the election open for 7 extra days in the primary, allowing people who received the ballots after Election Day to still cast ballots. I mean, if we don't have a finish line, we'll never figure out the victor. And this is part of the New York problem. It took 6 weeks to determine who won that election. So
unacceptable.
Here are things we're doing.
Yeah.
Know that the RNC is fighting for this. And then also go to the resources we've put forward. Go to protectthevote.com and then vote.gop, where you can request an absentee ballot, where we'll teach you how to do it safely and securely. We need people to vote in person, vote early, vote in person, figure out ways to make sure your vote is counted when you cast it. And we want to be there to help every step of the way as Democrats are introducing chaos into our election process, which is really frightening.
It absolutely is. And just finally, on a broader point, because I think this scheming and trying to change the rules is really something troubling that we've seen Democrats try to do, that they don't believe in open debate. They don't want a fair fight at the ballot box. This is a party that literally tried to remove President Trump from the ballot in California, and of course through their sham impeachment, where they wanted to remove the choice from Americans with a complete fraud, because they don't want an open debate. They don't want to discuss these ideas, and they always run to the courts to try to change the rules for power. And that's really what's at stake at this election. We want our voices to be heard, and we want to have confidence that who we voted for and our vote counted, and we believe in the results. And if you don't have that, you have one party rule and disasters like we're seeing in these Democrat-run cities.
And this is where the president's 202 judicial nominees really come into play. What he's done on the circuit court level, on the federal level, with Gorsuch, with Kavanaugh. 4 more years of Donald Trump means better judges that are going to do what judges are intended to do, which is interpret the law, not make the law. And an activist judge can overturn the whole checks and balance process of our country. And we need good judges that are doing what they are intended to do. And we may have some more Supreme Court nominees coming forward in the next 4 years. We probably will. We want to make sure that there's a Republican in the White House and a Republican majority in the Senate, so we can ensure that we have rule of law justices.
Absolutely. It's about the Constitution. It's about keeping America great and America and our founding principles. Rana, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. Please keep it right here at our convention.
We want every American who is eligible to cast a ballot this November to be able to do so safely and securely. While Democrats are suing in state after state to strip away voter protection safeguards, the Republican Party is fighting back.
Okay, so I'm back. So what I want to do right now, I want to show you some stuff from yesterday. My name is Kyle. This is the Conservative Take, and I want to go over the polling from yesterday. It looked like that the RNC convention got nearly 6 times the viewers than the DNC did on the first night of the event. This is from the Washington Examiner, and hopefully you can see this. Yep, looks like you can. All right, so so here it says that the live stream yesterday from C-SPAN's coverage of the first night of the Republican National Convention was almost 6 times higher than that of the Democrat National Convention. The TV ratings released from Nielsen Media Research Tuesday show that nearly 444,000 people watched C-SPAN's Republican Convention live stream Monday night, compared to a viewership of 76,000 viewers for the Democratic Convention's opening night a week earlier. About 15.8 million people watched the Republican National Convention Monday night across all 6 major outlets, compared to 18.7 million for the opening night of the Democratic National Convention, according to Nielsen. So that was a pretty good night. And I think what the RNC is showing is that the RNC has a respect for people, has a respect for particularly minorities. And one right here is a lady here, Klalik. She is in Baltimore, and she's running for a district out there. And she put together a viral video that, if you have not seen it, it is fantastic. She is basically covering the things that I've been talking about and many, many, many other Black conservatives for decades, literally decades. And just about essentially that the Black needs in the community aren't being met. And why is that important? Why is it about race? Well, it's because you have a group of people that are voting at a 95% clip for one party, and they've been doing it for 40 years, 50 years. If you look back in 1963, it was around 80% Black participation at that election then, and it's just gone up from there. And and what's happened is the Democrats have needed that vote so much that they pretty much have to have it in the major urban cities, or they can pretty much cancel Christmas when it comes to states like Pennsylvania and Michigan, because they need places like Detroit and Philadelphia. And so that is pretty much what it is. And see, when you have a person like Trump, who is a New Yorker, who already has appealed to the hip hop community, the Black community, from a historical standpoint, from the 80s on up, it's really easy for him to get that, because all he has to do is just remind people, hey, I was with you then, and he's honest. And one thing about Black people is that we want people to be honest with us, and that is something that we may not like it initially. It's kind of like your dad who tells you, don't do that, and you don't like him, but you understand that it's for your own good because you're a reckless person. Then you need that kind of correction. That's partially what we need in this country. I'm not saying everyone's reckless, but a big portion of this country has lost its way, and there's just right now it's just so senseless what's going on. You almost need someone to come in there who's not popular in terms of get back in line and do what you need to do, but at the end of the day, everyone benefits. And so that's why I think Trump really appeals to African Americans and Black people. And this guy here, Vernon Jones, he lit it up yesterday as well. This guy was a Democrat representative for a long time. His name was Vernon Jones. He took part in the first day of the Republican National Convention, where he praised President Trump's efforts to support Black Americans. And it's just the same thing. He says, "As you can see, I'm a man of color," Jones said, "and I'm a lifelong Democrat too." You may be wondering, why is a lifelong Democrat speaking at the Republican National Convention? It's a fair question. He goes on to say, "The Democratic Party does not want Black people to leave their mental plantation." Yes, he went there. He said those words, mental plantation. And the word plantation in the Black community is a very, very powerful word. There's other words that are in that conversation too that we all know about, but plantation is another one. It's not a dog whistle per se, but it's a word that evokes emotions. And what that basically says is that slavery, mental slavery. It's a nice way of saying mental slavery. He said, "We've been forced to be there for decades and generations," Jones continued, "but I have news for Joe Biden. We are free. We are free people with free minds, and I am of a large and growing segment of the Black community who are independent thinkers." The Black community is waking up. I don't want to just spend time on that, but there's a lot of things going on with the polling with Black America. It's really, really encouraging. Not only just Black America, Latinos and Hispanics have been high all year, going back to even January, where they had two polls where they were separately, independently at 50% approval for President Trump. So a lot of cool stuff going on here. A lot of good messaging. Donald Trump Jr. probably gave one of the best speeches on overall policy. Each speaker pretty much gave policies of a particular instance or a segment in their particular experience. Well, Donald Jr. gave his overall platform of the Republican Party. And what people really don't understand what these conventions do, what they really are, number one, is they are to get the party together for the first time in a long time, to come up with a platform of what they're going to run going forward, to get down with the messaging, what they're going to come up with, get a consensus of what they're going to stand for, vote for, get fundraising, support, canvassing strategies. There's a lot of business meetings that go on. I've been to some of these, not the national convention, but I've been to some national conventions on the lower level, like the young Republicans, and that's what goes on. And then the stuff on the floor, that's all spectacle. That's to nominate the top of the ticket, and that can be done really in 30 minutes. But the roll call is dragged out for TV, and so. But the core of it is this. And so what we're going to see now going forward is the messaging that the Republican Party and the Trump. Let's just stop here. It's actually the Trump Party, because Trump has refashioned the Republican Party into his own image. And I think it's a good thing, especially given what's happening right now with the country. So the Trump agenda is what's going to be pushed forward. And we're going to start seeing these poll numbers getting tighter and tighter and tighter as everyone comes on board and gets galvanized. The volunteer force that the RNC has right now is, they have, I think what I understand now, is the greatest, largest grassroots movement in the history of politics. Outdoes Hillary in 2016 and even Obama in 2008. And so with volunteers and offices all over the place, they've raised so much money for offices all over the place, but whereas before they called Trump a disadvantage because he didn't have that kind of groundwork on the ground, now he has that. Plus he has an accomplishment to run on. So he's going to be very difficult to beat, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be very difficult to beat. And what the issue right now is getting the message out in a situation of this country that is so volatile and so scary for people that it's really hard to do it. You can't get out to the people you want to get out to because, you're being restricted, you're being confined, you're being denigrated by the other side. In fact, I just saw something here on someone just posted here that the ABC News is getting mad at the president because he's doing political functions inside the White House. They're saying that blurs the lines of ethics. Well, yeah, I'm sure if Barack Obama had done that, it wouldn't have been no problem whatsoever. So I'm just going along here, guys, see what I can catch up on before we get on here. We're about 30 minutes out. I want to show some of the more of the feed, but I wanted to just at least let you guys know what's going on and kind of unpack some things. Here's a poll, independents. And this is what I want to talk about really a lot, is because independents are what this election is going to be all about. Okay. It's going to be two things. I've said it many times, is that it's going to come down into turnout, who's going to come to the poll and pull the lever. And it's going to come down to the independents. And the independents pretty much are people who don't pay attention to politics until like a week of, a month of. And they, right now, in general, are sick of partisan politics. But a lot of these people just want the job done. They don't really care about the partisan stuff. You know, they don't care about that kind of stuff. They just want to make sure that their check is going to be it's going to clear when their boss gives it to them. They want to make sure that they have food on the table. They have safe streets, you know, safe neighborhoods. And I mean, everybody wants that deep down. The problem is people who are really partisan kind of put those issues above even that. It's emotion, it's party affiliation. But independents just don't care. They're really average Americans. And that's what the Democrat Party, unfortunately, has jettisoned in their platform. They pretty much said, if you're in the blue area of the Rust Belt, so-called Rust Belt areas, well, that's a predominantly white area of the country. And, well, that doesn't go over very well nowadays when you're playing identity politics, when you're trying to cater to certain ethnic groups and make sure that they're victimized. Because to do that, you have to raise one and then lower the other. And unfortunately, for white America, they're being getting the short end of the stick, which is one of the reasons why Trump won in 2016 was because people felt disenfranchised. They felt, hey, you know, I've been a Democrat my entire life. My factory closed. I see my jobs get shipped overseas. Now what happens? And no one cares. No one cares. We see money being funneled to other groups that shouldn't be here. That shouldn't be here. That should be here legally, but aren't. And that was what ended up getting Trump that particular vote. And he's going to do very well in the area again. And so here it says here, this is the political polls. I just looked at this for the first time just now. National GE among independents, Trump 47, Biden 37, plus 10. This is YouGov. Now, YouGov America is a very accurate poll. It's one of the ones from 2016 that was actually one of the ones that was actually a gold standard, more or less. And I'm not sure what the sampling here is, but this is likely voters. So this is a solid poll for Trump. And we've seen consistently Trump have strong numbers with independents. Because, like I said before, independents don't really care about the partisan stuff. They want to make sure that you're doing a good job, and that's what we're seeing with Trump administration. People are seeing it in the tax cuts that came in. They're seeing it in just overall policy, and they're seeing it with the fact that President Trump is just doing the things that he said he was going to do, and I think people can respect that, and that's what's happening. So I just think. Right now, the RCP average, the real clear polling average right now has Trump. I haven't seen it recently, but it's still a pretty substantial margin there. But just know that those polls that they're putting in that system are weighted heavily for Democrats. And I have videos out there to talk about that and how that works with the weighting and how they have to sample size and how they have to guess and use assumptions and how they can't get in contact with the Trump voter because they don't want to talk to anybody. They don't trust the people. they either didn't vote for the past 4 or 5 election cycles, or they just don't care to talk to you. And it's just very difficult to get that vote, to get the sample data that is accurate. But what we're seeing is outside of that RCP average and those liberal polls, there is no key indicator that I've seen right now that has me worried in the least bit about Trump's chances of re-election. I mean, if you look at what people care about the most, it's safety, number one. It's the economy, number two. They trust Trump in all 3 of those. Healthcare is actually down there as well, but that's actually kind of fallen some. And the Democrats had led that for a long time, but even Trump's closed that gap a little bit. And so with women, with independents obviously here, with blacks who have been as high as 49% approval, Latinos who've been as high as 50% approval, people who are other than black, white, Hispanic, that was at one point at 51%. It's just a lot of different things that just point to a picture of strength. The other one is going to be the enthusiasm gap. The enthusiasm gap is incredibly high in Trump's favor. I think I have an article here on this. Do I have that? This is the 6 times newer. Okay, no, I don't have that. But there is an enthusiasm gap. I believe this is it's Gallup. Sorry. And which one this is? New poll, Gallup. Okay. A new poll released Monday from Gallup showed that 4 of the 4 days of virtual speeches and minimal fanfare produced by the Democratic National Convention did little to shore up support for the party of Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris. So, typically in these types of things, we see parties or candidates actually get a bump. And what we didn't see is Joe Biden get a bump at all. We didn't see him. In fact, we saw him actually go down. We actually saw him go down in his polling. And that is something very interesting. Also, we saw some models that was with, I believe it was 538, and I believe it was also The Economist. Both those models that have like the weighting averages, none of those moved at all, but Trump's numbers started to tighten. That happened right after day 3 of the DNC. And I just think people just got tired of seeing just doom and gloom the entire time. And that was it. So I'm going to, no volume. Can you guys hear me? Let me see. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. My microphone is on. Okay. I think we're good. So anyway, so let me ask some questions here. Don Jr.'s delivery effect was digestible last night. I like this message. Kim G was the only kind of could have done without Kim G. Yeah, Kim G's speech, what she said was great. It was very emotional, which is something we didn't get a lot of last night, at least at that level. But some people took it as over the top. I just thought she was excited. So, but I do get that sentiment. It says, yeah, Tim Pool considers himself independent. That is true. He did say that. I talked about it yesterday. Tim Pool, if you don't know who he is, he's he's really a vlogger on YouTube, but he was really popular during the Occupy Wall Street. He's got about 2 million followers on social media. And he basically said, after a long time coming, after being red pilled for the past 6 months to a year, said, I'm now voting for Donald Trump after seeing his second term agenda. So let me see here. I'm trying to rush through this stuff, guys. I don't know if I'm talking too fast. I apologize. It says we see the people, the ones who love this country, are thrilled to see fellow people over at the White House who actually represent and make positive change. Thank you, Lisa. I think that's so true. I mean, one thing we have to say is that the DNC, and I have to give them credit. I really have to give them credit because back in February, back in February, right when COVID was just happening, and even last year, I was like, there's no way the Democrats can win this thing because their party is fragmented. You have Nancy Pelosi was being held hostage, and so was Chuck Schumer by the squad, AOC and those other people who are on that radical left. And they were doing things that were just out of character, even for them. And it wasn't popular. And so I was like, how are they going to be able to do this? They have no messaging at all. And so COVID came, and then they jumped right all over that, whether it was an intentional thing or whether it was something that just happened by chance for them to help them. But I don't think that helped them at all. I don't think COVID is going to help them at all. In fact, typically everything the Democrats do is they overstep and they overreach everything they do. They take something and they just go too far with it. And that's where we are now. And I think right now people just don't like what they're seeing in this country. Biden for bingo. Let's see, Junior MC here. Okay, great. Yeah, just want to make sure you can hear me because I sometimes, what I want to do, I want to make sure that I'll have my microphone queued up, but if I don't do it, you won't hear me. So, and last time I had my screen up with the articles, I had no idea what I was saying. So I come back to my screen now and I see everyone was actually on the chat. So, okay, awesome. So, all right. So right now it's about 8:39. If they stay on schedule to what they were yesterday, you'll start around 9 o'clock. I'm going to put the feed back on, and I'm going to, what am I going to do? Get some water, and I'm going to come back and hopefully. Let me tell you who who's going to be speaking. Let me do that real quickly. If you guys don't already know, let me pull it up real quickly. All right, up tonight, I'm going to try and do in the order I think they're going to happen. Now, I'm not sure if Eric Sandmann actually spoke yet, but Tiffany Trump, John Peterson, Cris Peterson, Megan Pauley, Ann Mendoza, Joyce, Myron, if I pronounce these. Up tonight, I'm going to try and do in the order I think they're going to happen. Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. Let me see. Governor Jeannette Nunez, Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Let me see here. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, Melania Trump, Mike Pompeo, and Rand Paul from Kentucky. I'm really curious to hear what Rand Paul is going to say because he's probably the most conservative we have, who's principled, you know. And sometimes I get mad at him because he's so principled. I'm like, come on, dude, come on, really? But yeah, I mean, so that's a decent lineup. So I'm also curious to see what Melania is going to have to say as well. And if Tiffany speaks too, that'd be interesting because you don't hear Tiffany speak very, very much. And with all the things going on with the auxiliary Trump family coming down on Trump, which I think is just a misnomer. You have a sister who's just pretty much just having a civil squabbling. And of course, the media outplays it, whatever. But that should be interesting to hear speak. All right, so cool. So with that, I'm going to jump this on here and put the stream back on and for the last 20 minutes. And I'll see you when we come back.
Do there as well.
A lot of charter schools. I mean, this is the thing. We support school choice in a huge way,
Right.
in a huge way. And I think this is not just for the Hispanic community, but for the Black community, for the
Absolutely.
minorities. Our children should not be limited to a zip code
Right.
to go to school, to the school of their choice, to the school that they think that is going to offer the best opportunities for them in this great nation. That's why their parents brought them here, to offer them that freedom, to offer them a series or different opportunities that they can choose from. And that's why it's called school choice, because it gives them the opportunity to the parents and the student. It makes them a priority, and it gives them the opportunity to choose what they believe will serve them best for the future.
You're right. President Trump and the Republican Party are about opportunities, and opportunities for parents, opportunities for family, and opportunities for children. When you look at another opportunity, an educational issue, that's support for historically Black colleges and universities and HSIs. I mean, this president has been a true champion for minority serving institutions from the beginning. We saw him be a tremendous supporter and increase funding for these schools.
250 million.
That is nothing to be shy about. I mean, that is
annually.
significant. And when you look at the permanent mandatory funding that he signed into law, this president cares, and this president is acting with leadership, and he's doing things in a proactive way that are benefiting communities of color. And the media is not giving him the credit, but he doesn't care. He still does it anyway because he knows it's the right thing to do, and it not only benefits the minority communities, it benefits the entire community. One thing I want to just talk about is your role here at the RNC and some of the things that we both do. A lot of people don't realize that under the leadership of Ronna McDaniel, our chairwoman, we have had a very robust and aggressive and strategic effort to do engagement with minority communities. Talk about some of the things that you've done in your role here at the RNC.
Oh, that excites me the most because, you know, I'm so grateful to serve under our chairwoman. I've traveled with her before, and I can see the genuine reaction that she has every single time that she meets someone at an event or at a community get together. She sat down in round tables, and I've seen her participate and absorb the experience that people are trying to convey to her as far as like what's happening in the community.
Right.
You know, she listens, and then she takes all that knowledge and she applies it correctly. And that's how we've seen our grassroots effort
Right.
grow the way it has, because of her knowledge. Every single time she travels a lot.
Yes.
A lot. So every single time that she goes to these communities and that she hears what people's concerns are and what they want out of this administration, she takes that knowledge, she shares that with the right people, And that's how the RNC has grown into what it has grown. She has to give us the secret for her fundraising records, because it's just out of this world.
It is out of this world. And the thing I love about our chairwoman the most is the fact that she understands. I mean, she was the former chair of the Michigan party that led unprecedented effort to have President Trump win the state of Michigan. I think he'll do it again. But when you look at her commitment to engagement, she wants everybody to be voting. She wants to be reaching out to everyone. And so what we have the great pleasure of doing is taking the Republican message, taking President Trump's message to diverse communities where they read it, whether it's radio or television or even newspapers. We're there. We're engaging with these publications and these outlets because it's important to get the word out and get the message to them. And we're also registering voters. The Republican National Committee has registered more in 2020 than we did in the whole 2016 cycle. I mean, we're on the ground. We have engagement centers. We have these community centers for the Black Voices for Trump.
Oh, the efforts this year
Hispanic,
are like second to none.
Yeah,
it's
real.
So, yes.
They're real efforts.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And if you go into the states, it's important to recognize the people that work at a local level,
right,
in places like Florida, like Nevada, like in every single state, we've seen the effort of our team, of our local team. And obviously from here at the HQ, we work every single day. We do interviews, we take the message out there. And the hardest working person in this building is our chairwoman. She goes into every single interview with the right answers. We've seen all the traveling that we were talking about that she's done across the country, all the meetings that she's been, and every single effort is to re-elect President Trump because she believes, and we believe in the policies that this president has for this nation that are so important for communities like ours, Paris.
I was so impressed to see that the RNC has been so serious about the engagement effort, the campaign as well. And you've seen the chairwoman write op-eds that have gone to Hispanic publications and Black-owned newspapers. And we did an event with the Black Economic Alliance. She just said, yes, let's do it, a live stream. She is all in for engagement because it's serious. And Yala, you know that as much as I do,
we do it all bilingual. We
Right.
do it all bilingual.
And bilingual as well.
Yes.
This is fantastic because we're taking the party in different languages because we want to reach people where they are. This party, under this president, President Trump, we have a winning message because he has been a champion for minority communities. He has put policies, not just rhetoric, but policies in place that have benefited us. And I just am excited to be here. I'm excited about the election. I'm excited about having you as a colleague and to see what we're going to be able to do from now until the election. And so I encourage all of you, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, go to the GOP website, GOP.com. I know, Yala, you have a Twitter account for
Jeanne Nunez.
Yala, as well as the Latino for RNC.
The RNC Latinos. That's a Twitter account that we've developed, and every single message that we have in our GOP Twitter account, we also have in Spanish and English in RNC Latinos. And I think it's so important to reach out to our community in both languages, or we even have for the Asian Pacific as well. We send it in different languages. I mean, the RNC's efforts are second to none. We are in this to win it, and we will do it in November 3rd.
We are in it to win it, and we're going to win in November 3rd because we have the president and who has the leadership, the record, and the passion to make this country great. We are on the great American comeback, and we can do that with President Trump. So, Yali, thank you for your time. It's great talking to you.
Of course. Thank you so much, and the same, Paris.
Hello from Western Colorado. I'm Lauren Boebert, a proud Republican. I'm a mom to 4 young men who I refuse to send into a socialist country. I'm running to represent the farmers, ranchers, steelworkers, and all of the proud Americans in Colorado's 3rd Congressional District who understand we are in a battle for the heart and soul of our country. This is a battle you and I must win. Last fall, I put my Glock on my hip and I told Beto O'Rourke, hell no, he isn't taking our guns. I learned right then, I'm not just a business owner or a mom or a gun owner. I'm a proud American with a strong voice and a strong fight in me that can help take our country back. My name is Lauren Boebert. With your help, I'm going to Washington to fight for our freedom, fight for our prosperity, and put all those left-wing lunatics back where they belong. Join me at laurenforcolorado.com. God bless each and every one of you.
When I was 15, I was severely burned in a kitchen fire. During my hospitalization, my caretakers inspired me to become a doctor. In a family with 8 kids, my parents didn't have the means to send me to college, so I decided to set out on my own. I left home at 16, got a job, enrolled in community college, and worked my way through school. At 18, I enlisted in the United States Army and served a total of 24 years, retiring as lieutenant colonel. I became a nurse and eventually graduated from medical school and became a physician. After I served as president of the Iowa Medical Society, Governor Branstad asked me to lead the Iowa Department of Public Health, and now I'm a state senator. You see, I never gave up on my American dream. I never quit believing that tomorrow can be better than yesterday. As a doctor, military veteran, public health official, and a mother, I stand ready to go to work for you. I will never quit fighting for Iowa, and I will never quit fighting for you. Join us in this campaign, and we will reopen America and return to greatness together.
The 2020 election is about courage. My name is Jeannie Ives. I'm a West Point graduate, a mother of 5, a U.S. Army veteran, a former state representative, and now a candidate for Congress in the Illinois 6th Congressional District. This year, we were thrown into crisis. We have a choice to make. We can elect leaders who are hiding like Biden, who pretend that avoiding difficult situations and canceling everything they disagree with is progress. Or we can elect those with courage to stand on the front lines, offer solutions, and take the heat that comes with it. In 2020, we have seen the Democrats' worldview play out: grow government power and put Americans on public aid rather than opening up opportunities, tear down statues to appease rioters, board up businesses to prevent looting, defund the police, and, of course, refuse to debate so you don't have to defend any of it. This battle either ends in our total submission to an extreme ideology or in a bold display of courage and confidence in the goodness of American values. We do not have to agree on everything, but there can be no disagreement about who is promoting radical ideology, corruption, and instability in 2020. Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Democrats in my home state of Illinois, like Sean Casten, Lori Lightfoot, and Kim Foxx, are synonymous with chaos. They have destroyed a world-class city and expect that you, across the nation, bail them out. I have always stood on the front lines against the far left in Illinois and stood up for those that I represent. In 2020, I am asking you to join me. Be courageous. Our future depends on it.
Hello, I'm Michelle Fischbach, and I'm running for Congress in Minnesota's 7th District. I am proud to have President Trump's complete and total endorsement. The 7th District is Trump country. The president won by 30 points in 2016, and we know he is going to win again. But this district is the most Trump district in the country that is represented by a Pelosi voting Democrat in Congress. A Democrat who has spent 30 years pretending to be a conservative, but is really a top supporter of Nancy Pelosi and her radical left-wing agenda. Minnesota's 7th District is huge. It's bigger than West Virginia, South Carolina, or Maine, with over 50,000 miles of roads from Canada almost all the way down to Iowa. That's enough to go around the world twice. I spent a lot of time on these roads, meeting people who support President Trump and love our country. The most important road is the one that Minnesota's 7th District is on, the road to take back Congress, the road to fire Nancy Pelosi and her cronies, the road to give President Trump a Congress that will work with him to keep America great. Please join me on this road by going to fischbachforcongress.com.
This is Congresswoman Virginia Foxx from the 5th District of North Carolina. I hope you're safe and healthy. I wish we could be together for this convention, but we can't because of conditions beyond our control. But I commend the RNC for putting together the convention virtually. This is the most important election of our lifetime. It is so critical that we re-elect President Trump and Vice President Pence. They have done a wonderful job in their 3.5 years in office, and we need to continue their ability to make this country great again. But we must elect all Republicans who are running at the state and local levels. Please work harder than you've ever worked before to elect our governor, our senator, our legislators, our judges. We depend on all of you to do what is necessary to do. May God bless you, and may he continue to bless our great country. Thank you.
I'm Shelley Farley, candidate for Congress in New York's 18th district. I'm an engineer. I know how to fix things. But ever since the Democrats took back the House, they're focused on obstruction and destruction. It's easy to tear things apart. It's a lot harder to rebuild them. Meeting the challenges of COVID is going to take hard work, cooperation. I'm a businesswoman. I know how to negotiate deals in the boardroom. I will work with President Trump to rebuild our economy and bring our country back. Join me at shellfarley.com.
Hi, I'm Christina Hagan, the Republican nominee in Ohio's 13th Congressional District. I am proud to be the daughter, sister, and wife to the trades. I grew up in the apartment above our family's small heating and plumbing business, going on service calls my entire life. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college, and in my capstone semester, I became the youngest woman to serve in the history of the Ohio House of Representatives. And I am immensely proud to be endorsed and supported and fully backed by President Donald J. Trump. As a working class mother of 3, I am so proud to help fight and combat the things that are compromising and hurting our country. And I'm proud to stand beside a working class champion like President Trump and to fight alongside him to ensure that my children have a bright future in this country. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the RNC.
I'm Nicole Malliotakis, and I'm running for Congress in Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn, New York. As President Trump said, this is Trump country. I'm running because New York City needs a strong Republican voice in Congress, and because Congress needs a strong Republican voice from New York City. Sadly, New York has been at the front lines of the radical pro-crime agenda. We've seen the effect of ending bail and letting dangerous criminals out of jail. I'm standing with President Trump and the New York Police Department to take back our neighborhoods from the criminals and the liberal Democrats who are empowering them. As the daughter of a Greek immigrant and a Cuban refugee who fled the Castro regime, I grew up learning about the horrors of socialism and the greatness of America. My parents instilled in me the conservative values of hard work, personal responsibility, and public service, lessons I used to help our community rebuild after Hurricane Sandy devastated my district. I'm Nicole Malliotakis, and I can't wait to work with President Trump to restore law and order to our cities, rebuild our nation's economy, and preserve the American dream for future generations.
You ask anybody in there whether or not the economic and foreign policy of this administration has made them better off in the last 8 years. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we can insure every single solitary kid. We can provide catastrophic health insurance right off the bat. We can do that for the cost of just one thing. The tax cut for people in the top 1%. And with I don't know. You got to give them to the people who are going to spend the money. You got to deal with making sure American companies can be competitive, have a health care plan that doesn't put them at a disadvantage when they compete overseas. There's during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called the.
As a mother of 4 in a world where our constitutional rights are constantly under attack, I will continue to support President Donald J. Trump, who has proven to us that he cares about the American people, that he will ensure the safety of our children and will ensure that they have their constitutional God-given rights. In 2020, I ask you to go to the polls and vote for President Donald Trump.
I support Donald Trump because he's for the American people. He stands against the corruption that has been going on for far too long in our government. He stands up for my constitutional rights and the rights of the unborn who do not have a voice. I feel in America, we are one election away from experiencing communism, and the only person standing in the way of that is Donald Trump. I choose freedom. I choose Donald Trump.
My husband and I live in Greenville, and I support President Trump for re-election. I feel safe with President Trump in the White House safe not only for myself, but for my children and my grandchildren. President Trump shares the same values that I have for America.
It's been an honor to watch President Trump serve for the last 4 years. He's done an amazing array of things for the American people. As a mother, I am especially pleased that he signed an executive order protecting free speech on college campuses, and that he worked so hard to keep our nation free and prosperous. I can't wait to see what President Trump does when he wins in November.
I am seeing that similar energy in the states that we're in across the country. So I feel very good about where we are heading into November.
Today, people gathered to celebrate the opening of a Trump Victory Field office in Rochester.
Harrisonburg and Rockingham GOP opened its doors for their fall campaign today. This morning, the Trump field office opened in Manchester with volunteers welcoming back in-person campaigning.
I really have to give a shout out to our chairwoman, to the president, to the delegates, and all the state parties who have continually tried to figure out a way to make this happen.
When the COVID pandemic hit kind of its height in Minnesota, everyone was sheltered in place. We were reaching people via phone, via digital, via email. And now that things are opening up again, we're out back hitting people's doors, putting together events, bringing people together.
Team Trump has its eyes on November, out today laying the groundwork to register new Republican voters.
In Phoenix, Arizona, this group of Latinos for Trump are out knocking on doors.
Realmente él ha sido muy buen presidente.
He has been a great president, says Colombian immigrant Monica Yelling, who is committed to dedicating her time and energy to re-electing President Trump.
We have 1,500 staff on the ground. We've trained close to 1.5 million volunteers. So you're seeing stories about us outpacing Democrats on voter registration. You're seeing Democrats raising warning flags that Joe Biden has no ground game. The investment we made early in these states is paying off because we're already seeing that pay dividends with voter registration, turning out our vote, and organizing towards November for this all too critical election.
Currently have the largest ground game we've ever seen in New Mexico on the Republican side being executed as we speak.
I've knocked on over 500 doors now and talked to dozens of people.
The support is very strong on the ground. We know President Trump has unified the Republican Party like we've never seen.
Supporters of President Trump cheering as this bus carrying several recognizable Trump surrogates pulls in.
Iowa Republicans held their own event over the weekend in Waukee. They say President Trump is the person they need in the White House for 4 more years.
You could hear cheers and screams and people honking horns, just excited to have 45 in town.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we're just very thankful that he's here in the Permian Basin.
From now until November, the president, the RNC, and the campaign will continue to contrast the clear record of achievement that he has and the lack of achievement that Joe Biden has.
You know, the president always says the best is yet to come, and we're going to lay that out as to what 4 more years will be of President Trump. And the best is yet to come for every American in their lives. And that is what the president's focused on, that everyday average American, and how can he make their lives better.
Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but we'll wait and I will talk. And yeah, I was just going to say that back in 2004, when I was, doing the YR thing, when I was doing the whole, I'm on the wrong side. I got that's not going to work. Let me see. Let me just do this. I can see on the screen. Okay, so when I was doing the YR thing back in the day, it was really, really difficult to be a Republican, man. It was like it was tough. I mean, you catch it now as a Trump supporter, but there's so much more people there that are there to back you up. Back then, it was just like you're just on your own. I mean, it was not nearly as crazy as today. You didn't risk, getting your well, maybe your car, maybe getting keyed or whatever, but not physical violence. So I'm watching this feed over here. Nothing's happening yet. They're doing something on the RNC side. And when it comes up, I'll put it back up. So see, I'm a loyal Democrat for, let me see, what's that say? I live in loyal Democrat community. It's been, yeah. So that is true. I guess what I'm saying really now is just in the social media space or the internet space, because back then you get shot down really quickly on, well, then MySpace or whatever you were choosing to use to communicate. It was just different times. And Bush, let's just be frank, he wasn't the most exciting candidate. You know, he was that traditional politician who, you know, he was principled to a point, but he was still talking points kind of president. And Trump would do that, but he pretty much goes off the talking points, which is why I like him so much, because he makes his events. Let me find what's going on here. Something's going on with our StreamYard here. If anyone has the RNC feed, let me know, because I think it's on their side, not mine. Let's see. Looks like the watch party just died. Okay, there it is. Hold on. It's still there. Still have a blank screen. I'll show you what I'm seeing. It'd be funny if they're getting so big a response that they're actually shutting down the servers. And that is possible. I'm going to try and bring the stream up again. See what happens. Nope, hold on. We'll see. Hold on. I'm scared if I get off this, it's going to come back, and then I'm going to have to go through all over again. Well, let me just try. Hold on. You know what? It may have started over. I may have to do a new feed. Let me do that. Let me do another feed and see what happens. Let me come back to you guys.
agencies to violate their deeply held beliefs. Democrats pressured schools to allow boys to compete in girls' sports and use girls' locker rooms. Those are the facts. But then, we, the people, elected Donald Trump. People of faith suddenly had a fierce advocate in the White House. He appointed judges who respect the First Amendment. He supported religious beliefs in court. He ensured religious ministries would not be forced to violate their beliefs. He withdrew the policies that placed our little girls at risk. And on the world stage, President Trump became the first president to talk about the importance of religious freedom at the United Nations, giving hope to people of faith around the world. In America, we have not yet experienced physical persecution, even though the left has tried to silence us. Even during the pandemic, we saw how quickly life can change. Some Democratic leaders tried to ban church services, while marijuana shops and abortion clinics were declared essential. But you know what truly is essential? Our right to worship freely and live our faith in every aspect of life. The Biden-Harris vision for America leaves no room for people of faith. Whether you're a baker, a florist, or a football coach, they will force the choice between being obedient to God or to Caesar, because the radical left's God is government power. So in the words of my grandfather, Billy Graham, let us stand for political freedom, moral freedom, religious freedom, and the rights of all Americans. And let's never give in to those who would attempt to take it from us. Tonight, I'm proudly standing in that public square, and I hope and pray you will join me in voting to re-elect President Trump.
I am Bob Vasilovich, Mayor of Eveleth, a small town in the Iron Range of Minnesota. My father and grandfather earned their livings mining the raw materials that made the steel that built America. This election is a make or break for workers who are carrying on the legacy of men like them. Since the Iron Range economy is vulnerable to economic trends and to foreign trade, we have always needed a strong voice in Washington. We looked to Democrats to fill that void for many years because we actually thought they cared about our welfare. Not anymore. The radical environmental movement has dragged the Democratic Party so far to the left they can no longer claim to be advocates of the working man. This is hard for me to say because I am a lifelong Democrat. But for far too long, both parties allowed our country to be ripped off by our trading partners, especially China, who dumped steel into our markets and slapped tariffs on our products. And what did so-called leaders like Joe Biden do? Nothing. The human cost has been devastating. We lost thousands of jobs. We lost a generation of young people who had to leave the Iron Range to find a livelihood. And worst of all, we lost hope. Then something unexpected happened. A straight-talking New Yorker burst onto the scene, promising to stand up to China and the rest of the world on behalf of the American worker. 4 years later, the Iron Range is roaring back to life, and we have one man to thank, President Donald Trump. He made good on his promises by cutting our taxes, rolling back senseless regulations, and delivering trade deals that put America's interests first. But the fight is not over. Joe Biden has allowed radicals like AOC to craft his environmental policies. Their so-called Green New Deal is a job-killing disgrace dreamt up by people who don't live in the real world. But Biden is too weak, too scared, and too sleepy to stand up to the radical left. He has been doing nothing in Washington for 47 years. Why would year 48 be any different? President Trump won't back down to anybody. He delivered the best economy in our history, and he will do it again for all of us. The Iron Range's economic future and survival is at stake, and so is America's. We know we can count on President Trump to fight for us and win. Let's make sure he wins on November 3rd. God bless America.
My name is Abby Johnson, and I spent 8 years working for Planned Parenthood. But today, I'm a pro-life activist. When I was in college, Planned Parenthood approached me at a volunteer fair. They talked about helping women in crisis and their commitment to keep abortion safe, legal, and rare. I was convinced to volunteer and later offered a full-time job as a medical assistant before my promotion to director of the clinic. I truly believed I was helping women, but things drastically changed in 2009. In April, I was awarded Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award and invited to their annual gala where they present the Margaret Sanger Award, named for their founder. And Margaret Sanger was a racist who believed in eugenics. Her goal when founding Planned Parenthood was to eradicate the minority population. Today, almost 80% of Planned Parenthood abortion facilities are strategically located in minority neighborhoods. And every year, Planned Parenthood celebrates its racist roots by presenting the Margaret Sanger Award. Later in August, my supervisor assigned me a new quota to meet, an abortion quota. I was expected to sell double the abortions performed the previous year. When I pushed back, underscoring Planned Parenthood's public-facing goal of decreasing abortions, I was reprimanded and told, "Abortion is how we make our money." But the tipping point came a month later when a physician asked me to assist with an ultrasound-guided abortion. Nothing prepared me for what I saw on the screen. An unborn baby fighting back, desperate to move away from the suction. And I'll never forget what the doctor said next. "Beam me up, Scotty." The last thing I saw was a spine twirling around in the mother's womb before succumbing to the force of the suction. On October 6th, I left the clinic, looking back only to remember why I now advocate so passionately for life. I founded and currently run And Then There Were None, a nonprofit organization that's helped nearly 600 abortion workers transition out of the industry. For most people who consider themselves pro-life, abortion is abstract. They can't even conceive of the barbarity. They don't know about the products of conception room and abortion clinics where infant corpses are pieced back together to ensure nothing remains in the mother's wombs, or that we joked and called it the pieces of children room. You see, for me, abortion is real. I know what it sounds like. I know what abortion smells like. Did you know abortion even had a smell? I've been the perpetrator to these babies, to these women. And I now support President Trump because he has done more for the unborn than any other president. During his first month in office, he banned federal funds for global health groups that promote abortion. That same year, he overturned an Obama-Biden rule that allowed government subsidy of abortion. He appointed a record number of pro-life judges, including 2 Supreme Court justices. And importantly, he announced a new rule protecting the rights of healthcare workers objecting to abortion, many of whom I work with every day. Life is a core tenet of who we are as Americans. And this election is a choice between 2 radical anti-life activists and the most pro-life president we have ever had. That's something that should compel you to action. Go door to door, make calls, talk to your neighbors and friends, and vote on November 3rd. Take action that reelects our president, and do it with our very most vulnerable Americans in mind, the ones who haven't been born yet.
It began as a class trip to join thousands for the annual March for Life. These Catholic young men traveled from Kentucky to stand up for what they believed in. But what happened was something very different.
Crackers with Make America Great hat on. You little dirty crackers, your day coming. Young Klansmen, look at our Make America Great Again hat.
Social media, the news, and even celebrities launched a campaign of persecution that was completely false against a boy in a Make America Great Again hat.
The MAGA hat carries a certain connotation that provokes a conditioned reaction.
I blame that kid. What a little crap.
Everyone that sees that smug look wants to punch that kid.
Nicholas Sandmann received death threats, and his school was forced to close. Tonight, Nicholas tells his story.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Sandmann, and I'm the teenager who was defamed by the media after an encounter with a group of protesters on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial last year. Before I begin, I'd like to thank President Trump for the opportunity to share some of my story and why it matters so much to this November's election. In 2019, I attended the March for Life in Washington, D.C. I demonstrated in defense of the unborn. Later that day, I bought a Make America Great Again hat because our president, Donald Trump, has distinguished himself as one of the most pro-life presidents in the history of our country, and I wanted to express my support for him too. Looking back now, how could I possibly imagine that the simple act of putting on that red hat would unleash hate from the left and make myself the target of network and cable news networks nationwide? Being from Kentucky, the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln, my classmates and I visited the Lincoln Memorial. I found myself face to face with Nathan Phillips and other professional protesters looking to turn me into the latest poster child showing why Trump is bad, while the media portrayed me as an aggressor with a relentless smirk on my face. In reality, the video confirms I was standing with my hands behind my back and an awkward smile on my face that hid two thoughts. One, don't do anything that might further agitate the man banging a drum in my face. And two, I was trying to follow a family friend's advice, never to do anything to embarrass your family, your school, or your community. Before I knew what was happening, it was over. One of Mr. Phillips' fellow agitators yelled out, "We got him. It's all right here on video. And we won, Grandpa." What I thought was a strange encounter quickly developed into a major news story, complete with video footage. My life changed forever in that one moment. The full war machine of the mainstream media revved up into attack mode. They did so without researching the full video of the incident, without ever investigating Mr. Phillips' motives, or without ever asking me for my side of the story. And do you know why? Because the truth was not important. Advancing their anti-Christian, anti-conservative, anti-Donald Trump narrative was all that mattered. And if advancing their narrative ruined the reputation and future of a teenager from Covington, Kentucky, well, so be it. That would teach him not to wear a MAGA hat. I learned what was happening to me had a name. It was called being canceled, as in annulled, as in revoked, as in made void. Canceled is what's happening to people around this country who refuse to be silenced by the far left. Many are being fired, humiliated, or even threatened. And often, the media is a willing participant. But I would not be canceled. I fought back hard to expose the media for what they did to me, and I won a personal victory. While much more must be done, I look forward to the day that the media returns to providing balanced, responsible, and accountable news coverage. I know President Trump hopes for that too. And I know you'll agree with me when we say that no one in this country has been a victim of unfair media coverage more than President Donald Trump. In November, I believe this country must unite around a president who calls the media out and refuses to allow them to create a narrative instead of reporting the facts. I believe we must join a president who will challenge the media to return to objective journalism. And together, I believe we must all embrace our First Amendment rights and not hide in fear of the media or from the tech companies or from the outrage mob either. This is worth fighting for. This is worth voting for. And this is what Donald Trump stands for. Thank you all for listening to me tonight. And one more thing. Let's make America great again.
I'm Pam Bondi. Our party's theme tonight is America, the Land of Opportunity. And listening to the stories of discoveries and deliverance, you can't help but be proud to call this country home. But for Joe Biden, it's been the land of opportunism, not opportunity. As a career prosecutor and former Attorney General of Florida, I fought corruption, and I know what it looks like, whether it's done by people wearing pinstripe suits or orange jumpsuits. At the Democrats' convention, we were told to look at Joe Biden as the model of integrity. But when you look at his 47-year career in politics, the people who benefit are his family members, not the American people. Let's take a closer look. We all know about Joe's son, Hunter Biden. A corrupt Ukrainian oligarch put Hunter on the board of his gas company, even though he had no experience in Ukraine or in the energy sector. None. Yet he was paid millions to do nothing. He only had one qualification that mattered. He was the son of the man in charge of distributing U.S. aid to Ukraine. And recently reported information revealed that a few months after Hunter Biden joined that corrupt company's board, the Obama-Biden State Department began doing business with them, even when it remained under investigation for corruption. And it gets worse. That very same company was being investigated by a Ukrainian prosecutor. Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States, threatened to withhold aid to Ukraine unless that same prosecutor was fired. And then he was fired. Hunter only resigned from that board just before his dad announced his campaign for president. Now let's talk about China. Fact, Joe Biden flew to China on Air Force Two with Hunter along for the ride. They said he was just there as a family member, but we know that's untrue. In Beijing, Hunter didn't just go sightseeing. He had meetings with his Chinese bank partners. Hunter even arranged for his dad to meet with one of the partners. 10 days later, those Chinese communist bankers approved millions to go to Hunter's firm. And those bankers work for the Chinese Communist Party, which oppresses their people, cheated American workers for decades, and covered up a deadly virus. To this day, Hunter controls a 10% stake in that firm. And Joe Biden's done more than look the other way on China. He said, the Chinese aren't our competition. Come on, man, they're not bad folks. Come on, Joe, talk to the folks in middle America who lost countless jobs to China while your son was getting rich with them. But there's more. Fact. There have been numerous press reports that have shown other close Biden family members benefited from Joe's 47-year political career. Joe Biden was point person on Iraq. The president of a construction firm met with Biden's team in the White House, and then who did they hire to build thousands of houses in Iraq? Joe Biden's close family member, who, you guessed it, had no experience in the industry and no experience in Iraq. A company official bragged that it helps to have a family member, the vice president, as partner. The family member put it more bluntly by saying, there's a line of 747s filled with cash ready to invest. Now let's follow the money down south. Again, as reported in the press, another close family member of Joe's at his sites on Costa Rica and Jamaica, where millions of dollars flowed from the Obama-Biden administration in taxpayer-backed loans to projects linked to, yes, that same family member. These aren't isolated incidents. It is a deliberate pattern of conduct. And that's just what he did as vice president. Imagine what he'd do as president. How many American families would be allowed to get away with this? Why should there be one standard for the elite political class and another set of rules for the rest of us? When millions of Americans voted for Donald Trump, they knew he'd be different, and he is. He's a tough, no-nonsense outsider who can't be bought or intimidated. He won't even take a paycheck from the American people. He donates his paycheck to charities across this country. Democrats have been lecturing America about integrity for 4 years, while their nominee has been writing the textbook on abuse of power for 40 years. If they want to make this election a choice between who's saving America and who's swindling America, bring it on. Joe says he'll build back better. Yeah, build the Bidens back better. Our president is in this to build a safer, better, and stronger America, and he will finish what he started to keep this a real land of opportunity for everyone. If you want to check your voting status, secure your ballot, or register to vote, text VOTE to 88022. Remember, the best is yet to come.
Women have played a very, very big role. The level of genius is unbelievable, frankly.
You're what? You've got 70, 80 years on this earth. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to make that difference? Are you going to say, I was there for the big battles in our country to save America?
It's what I feel very much called to do ever since I was a very young girl.
In 2016, Donald Trump made his historic run for the office of United States President. Knowing the monumental task he would be undertaking, he rested all of his hopes for winning on one woman. Because of that trust, he became the 45th President of the United States, and Kellyanne Conway became the first woman in U.S. history to manage a winning presidential campaign.
This president has been a champion for women, mostly because he speaks to them as if they can handle and tackle all issues.
I don't want a job because of my gender. I want the job because I'm the best person for that position. That's it. And he respects that. And he appreciates hard work. You can't ask for anything better, especially in a boss.
President Trump continues to place strong women into significant positions throughout his administration and campaign, far more than any other president in U.S. history.
That he's had and does have more women on his top team than any president before, but it actually goes down to his deputy assistants, to his special assistants, to our awesome teams throughout the West Wing.
And when he called me and said, I want you to represent my entire campaign, I became the first Black woman to represent a Republican presidential campaign, winning presidential campaign in United States history.
Throughout his career, Trump has always touted family first as a core value. He shows this especially with his choices of press secretaries, choosing Sarah Sanders, the first mother to become a press secretary, Stephanie Grisham, the first single mother to serve as press secretary, and Kayleigh McEnany, who transitioned into the job while also transitioning into the job of mom.
I have 4 children. Kellyanne Conway has 4 children. Ivanka has, I think between all the senior staff women, we might have 75 kids. I'm not sure, we've lost count, but the importance of the work is never lost on any of us. And truly, it is those children that we are fighting for and for their future.
With these capable women placed in positions of powerful influence and authority, President Trump has proven that when the stakes are highest, he is proud to entrust many of our nation's most crucial jobs to women.
The number of dedicated, amazing, brilliant, relentless women that are dedicated to the country and to the president and to preserving the American dream is one of the greatest, if not the greatest things I'll ever be a part of.
Only the president would say, let's take that stay-home mom and have her run the party. What a smart guy.
Good evening. I'm Tiffany Trump. Since speaking at the Republican convention 4 years ago, so much has changed for the world, for our country, and for my family. Like so many students across the world, I graduated from law school during the pandemic. Our generation is unified in the facing the future in uncertain times, and many of us are considering what kind of country we want to live in. As a recent graduate, I can relate to so many of you who might be looking for a job. My father built a thriving economy once, and believe me, he will do it again. This election, I urge each and every one of you to transcend political boundaries. This is a fight for freedom versus oppression, for opportunity versus stagnation, a fight to keep America true to America. I urge you to make judgment based on results and not rhetoric. If you believe in criminal justice reform, there is only one president that passed the First Step Act, giving people a second chance, a chance at a life once again. And if you believe in expanding quality and affordable healthcare, only President Trump, my father, signed the right to try into law the Favored Nations Clause and other actions to lower drug prices and keep Americans from getting ripped off. People must recognize that our thoughts, our opinions, and even the choice of who we are voting for may and are being manipulated and visibly coerced by the media and tech giants. If you tune into the media, you get one biased opinion or another. And what you share, if it does not fit into the narrative that they seek to promote, then it is either ignored or deemed a lie, regardless of the truth. This manipulation of what information we receive impedes our freedoms. Rather than allowing Americans the right to form our own beliefs, this misinformation system keeps people mentally enslaved to the ideas they deem correct. This has fostered unnecessary fear and divisiveness amongst us. Why are so many in media and technology, and even in our own government, so invested in promoting a fabricated view? Ask yourselves, why are we prevented from seeing certain information? Why is one viewpoint promoted while others are hidden? The answer is control, because division and controversy breed profit. But what are the consequences when only one side of the story gets out, or when only one viewpoint is acceptable? For our education system, it meant sacrificing civil debate by creating an atmosphere where students with contrary opinions are too afraid to speak. Many students find themselves suppressing their beliefs to fit into what the acceptable groupthink is. In short, our nation suffers by inhibiting our diversity of thought and inclusion of ideas. Working together outside our political comfort zones will accomplish so much more. Some cynical politicians do not seem to believe in the miracle of America. Well, I do. As Maximo Alvarez said so eloquently, if freedom is lost in this country, there is nowhere else to go. Having hope is not weakness, and believing in miracles is a gift from God. So tonight, I want to tell you the uncensored truth of what we believe in. We believe in equality of opportunity. We believe in freedom of thought and expression. Think what you want. Seek out the truth. Learn from those with different opinions, and freely make your voice heard to the world. We believe in school choice, because the child's in America should not determine their future. We believe in freedom of religion for all faiths, and we believe in the American spirit, a country founded on ideas, not identity, a country where differences are embraced, and the only country where the word dream has been attached to it. Because in America, your life is yours to chart. So if you're hearing these things and thinking to yourself, that is the kind of country that I want to live in, well, whether you realize it or not, you are a Trump supporter. I encourage you to see beyond the facade that so many other politicians employ. They mask themselves in disguises of decency as they try to pressure us to mask our own identities and beliefs. My father is the only person to challenge the establishment, the entrenched bureaucracy, big pharma, and media monopolies to ensure that Americans' constitutional freedoms are upheld and that justice and truth prevail. My father does not run away from challenges, even in the face of outright hatred, because fighting for America is something he will sacrifice anything for. He dreams big dreams for our country, and he is relentless at achieving them. You see, Make America Great Again is not a slogan for my father. It is what drives him to keep his promise of doing what is right for American citizens. The energy of change and opportunity is with us. God has blessed us with unstoppable spirit, his spirit, the American spirit. My dad has proven to be driven by that spirit. He has demonstrated his faith and his uncompromising heart and actions. My father has made me believe that America can truly be great again. If you care about living your life without restraints, about rebelling against those who would suppress your voice and building your American dream, then the choice in this election is clear. A vote for my father, Donald J. Trump, is a vote to uphold our American ideals. Be true to yourself and stay true to the dream of America. Thank you, and God bless you all.
I'm Reynolds, governor of the great state of Iowa. I love this state, and I'm so proud to serve its people. Iowa truly is a land of opportunity. It's the birthplace of the computer. It's a landmark of the financial services industry. And as so many of you already know, it's filled with farmland that feeds and fuels the world. It's also home to people who care for one another, who work hard, who love this country, and are truly grateful for the freedoms it provides. As I like to say, Iowa is one big small town. Neighbor helping neighbor is in our DNA. Sick farmer who can't harvest his crops, to the single mom who loses her job and is struggling to get back on her feet. The town, the community helps them get through it. But what happens when a storm rips through almost the entire state? When it's not one farmer who lost his crop, but hundreds? When it's not one neighbor who is without food, but thousands? That happened just 2 weeks ago. A storm called a derecho with hurricane-force winds of up to 140 miles per hour wiped out millions of acres of crops, left thousands without power. It destroyed homes, lives, and left devastation in its wake. It was the worst storm in our state's history. And Iowans did what you expect Iowans to do. They helped each other, they took care of each other, and they still are. But someone else had our back, our president. When the winds had finished raging and the cleanup had only begun, he showed up. Now, you might not know that because the national media didn't report it, but the Trump administration was here in full force. The day after the storm, the president called to assure me that we had the full backing of the federal government. And later that week, Vice President Pence came to Iowa to again assure us that the president and his administration were behind us. With the help of the Trump administration, we quickly received a major disaster declaration that will help Iowans get back on their feet. The president, he cut through the bureaucracy to do what needed to be done and to do it quickly. But that's not the first time President Trump showed Iowans that we can rely on him. In 2019, when 100-year floods breached nearly every levee and devastated communities large and small along the Missouri River in Iowa, Nebraska, and Missouri, the president approved our request for aid in record time, in just 2 days. Well, this year, he did it in less than 24 hours. So whether it's providing needed relief to farmers who were the target of China's unfair trade practices, hammering out new free and fair trade deals, or fighting for workers and small businesses who were hit hard by COVID-19, we have a president and a vice president who get things done. And because of President Trump and his leadership, our country is able to bounce back from setbacks and see opportunity grow and thrive. This is an administration of action and outcomes. They are delivering every day on their promise to make America great again. And that's exactly why we need to re-elect President Donald J. Trump in November. Thank you, and may God bless the United States of America.
America, the land of opportunity, a country where your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. Abraham Lincoln's words from 165 years ago still resonate today because of who we are and because of what we are. A country where a boy born into poverty in a log cabin, raised right here on the frontier of Indiana, could educate himself, become a lawyer, become a president of the United States who would preserve the Union, abolish slavery, and save the nation. As a fellow Hoosier, visiting Lincoln's boyhood home has always been a treasured experience for me and my family. It's a place that made Lincoln. It shaped Lincoln and defined the man that Lincoln would become. America is the land of opportunity. As President Donald Trump declared at Mount Rushmore, in America, you can do anything. You can be anything. And together, we can achieve anything. Every day, President Donald Trump is fighting to protect the promise of American liberty. Every day, our president's been fighting to expand the reach of the American dream. And on every single day, without fail, President Donald Trump has been fighting for you. So tonight, I'd like to introduce you to a few remarkable Americans who represent that solemn pledge, who embody our president's unbreakable devotion to ensuring that America is a land of unlimited opportunity for all. Jack is an 8-year-old from Wisconsin who was struggling academically and socially in school. But Jack's mom, Sarah, who works 3 jobs to support her son, applied to Wisconsin School Choice Voucher Program.
We're glad that we were able to get the school choice voucher to go to that school. With Jack, he would have the cracks in public schools, and having the option to go to a school that fits him has been a real game changer for us. And I know that because of that opportunity that he's going to succeed and he's going to achieve that goal of being an apparatus engineer, if that's what he chooses to stick with.
Laura McClin is a mother of another inspiring boy, Jordan. Jordan has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a fatal muscle weakening disorder. Jordan was at my side in Indiana when, as governor, I signed a law allowing terminally ill patients to access experimental drugs not yet approved by the FDA. In 2018, President Trump signed the landmark federal Right to Try bill into law. Thanks to the president's leadership, critically ill patients have the right to access life-saving experimental treatments.
We started fighting for Right to Try, which basically says if you have a terminal illness and there's a drug that exists and you don't qualify for the clinical trial, there's no other way to receive it. This is a unique pathway that allows you to have access. You made us a promise back in Indiana that you would do whatever it took to help Jordan, and we're so grateful that you joined us on this journey and stuck it out until it became law so that other people could access treatments.
So, Jordan, if President Trump was standing right there, what would you say to him today about Right to Try?
Thank you for being a hero to everybody in the country.
Cheryl Allen made history in 2007 when she became the first African-American woman to be elected to serve on the Pennsylvania Superior Court. It's because of leaders like Judge Allen that our nation has overcome our greatest challenges. In this time of racial division in the country, do you see faith and values and the strong stand that President Trump has taken for equality of opportunity as a pathway toward bringing the country together?
As a, I'll leave it at that. I know what racism feels like.
But I also know that but for my being in this country, I would have never been able to achieve the things that I have been able to achieve. There are injustices, but the way to deal with those injustices is for people to sit down across the table and talk and come up with solutions. I do believe that President Trump is committed to that. In 2016, I have to confess that I really did not know candidate Trump at the time. But I have to say that he really won me over.
Gino's a truck driver from Ohio who heard politicians for years make empty promises about defending American jobs, only to see those promises broken again and again. But in 2019, when General Motors closed its plant in Lordstown, Ohio, President Donald Trump refused to stand by and watch it happen. And as Gino observed, this president reached out to General Motors to find a way to bring jobs back to Lordstown. And plans were soon set into motion to create Lordstown Motors.
President Trump says, this is how we fix it. And I thought, well, that's a simple solution. There's no other president who could have done it. There's no one that has even tried to do it. President Trump's a doer. He appreciates every one of us, and I know he does. I've seen it. When he said, make America great again, that was his task. That wasn't his slogan. That was his task. And every hat you see that says MAGA on it, that's what your president's doing for you. Thank you, Mr. President, for keeping the promises that you made.
And then there's Pastor Aaron Johnson. Today, he's the executive director of the Tulsa Dream Center, a nonprofit that provides education and medical services and food to those in need. AJ, you've got a great personal story. When you see the way this president, this administration have been leaning to create opportunities, investment in communities around the country to create jobs, expanding education, what does that mean to the families that you serve every day?
It means so much to our families. I did grow up in a single parent home, and so we serve over 600 boys and girls right now on a daily basis, even in COVID. And so for us to give these moms to have an opportunity to take more money on their check, on their paycheck home back to them, to have their children be able to go to a school that they may not have the opportunity to otherwise, it means so much to us. There's been so much greater opportunity for individuals to come together in any walk of life. People have really been able to see such a positive change and been filled with hope, especially throughout this time.
Lydia left hearth and home, friends and family in Honduras to pursue a better life here in America. While raising their 4 daughters, Lydia and her husband run a small business that creates security systems. But just months after the business was up and running, our nation was struck by a global pandemic. That's when President Donald Trump stepped in and enacted the largest financial relief package in American history. Her small business stayed in business, and her American dream kept running strong. What did the Paycheck Protection Program mean to your company as the coronavirus struck?
Yeah, it was a huge, tremendous help and a big blessing. And so we applied, we were accepted really quickly. We're so grateful. You can't believe how much relief we had. We want to continue serving our clients. We want to continue growing our economy, right? We want to all continue to move forward. So we were able to make it. Because of the support, family and friends. I tell my children, they are born here in the U.S., and I tell them, you are so blessed to live in America.
Here at Abraham Lincoln's boyhood home, a young man would grow up to become the first Republican president of the United States. And today, another Republican president is fighting to preserve that same noble legacy of freedom. And President Donald Trump will make certain that the torch of American opportunity illuminates every city, every town, and every community in this place.
Hi, I'm Ryan Holtz. I'm a police officer from New Mexico. In 2017, I had an encounter that changed my life forever. I had just started my shift and responded to a call for service at a gas station. When I arrived, I saw a man and a woman sitting on a grassy slope. I recognized the telltale signs, a needle, a spoon. I knew immediately that they were preparing to inject themselves with heroin. Sadly, this is a common sight for me. I encounter the ravages of addiction every day. But nothing could prepare me for what I discovered as I approached them. The woman was very pregnant. In my shock, I asked her if she knew that she was harming her baby by doing drugs. She crumbled and burst into tears. Two worlds collided as I knelt down beside her. A police officer and a homeless drug addict, brought together by forces outside of our control. As we talked, our humanity, distinct from our stations in life, was made abundantly clear. Her name was Crystal, and in the midst of her suffering, she confided that she loved her unborn baby. She wanted the best for her child. In that moment, I saw her the way all of you who know and love addicts see them, as fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, children, cousins, and friends, as human beings, full of value and dignity, but robbed of their potential by this disease. When Crystal said that she was looking for a family to adopt her baby, God showed me exactly what I had to do. Without hesitation, I told her that my family would welcome her baby through adoption. Today, our beautiful daughter Hope is a thriving 2-year-old. Crystal is fast approaching 3 years of recovery. She is a dear friend and a constant inspiration to me and others. I hold a special place in my heart for those facing opioid addiction, and that's why I'm enormously grateful to the president for his leadership in fighting this deadly enemy. Through his efforts, we're turning the tide on the crisis of addiction. President Trump declared the opioid crisis to public health emergency and then secured $6 billion in new federal funding to help Americans fight opioid abuse. He invested an additional $100 million to stop the opioid crisis in rural America. And in a move that strikes at the root of the problem, he implemented a safer prescribing plan aimed at reducing opioid prescriptions by over 1/3 within 3 years. This is an effort that stops addiction before it ever gains a hold in someone's life. And it's having an impact. Drug overdose deaths decreased in 2018 for the first time in 30 years. Many of the states hardest hit by the opioid crisis are seeing the largest drop in deaths. We're seeing that doctors are writing fewer prescriptions for opioid pain drugs. These are significant improvements that have a meaningful. I think we are fortunate, America, to have a president who cares deeply for the downtrodden and works tirelessly to find solutions. A president who doesn't just talk about problems, but stops and helps. President Trump is the leader we've needed the last 4 years, and he is the leader we need for the next 4. You see, Donald Trump, the right president at the right time. Let's make sure he's reelected on November 3rd. I pray God's blessings on you and your family, and may God bless America.
Good evening. My name is Jeannette Nunez, and I'm proud to serve as Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Florida. Tonight, I'm honored to share my story of faith, family, and American freedom. As a daughter of Cuban immigrants, in 1959, before I was born, when my parents' dreams of a prosperous life became a nightmare. Chaos started quickly when Fidel Castro took control of Cuba. The government confiscated private property, stealing people's homes, farms, and businesses. For my parents, the difficult decision to flee communist Cuba came when the Castro regime abolished religious freedom. Fellow Americans, the fabric of our nation is in peril. Daily, the radical left systematically chisels away at the freedoms we cherish. They peddle dangerous ideologies, cower to low progressives, and normalize socialism to dismantle our Constitution. Let me assure you, socialism doesn't offer opportunity. Socialism deprives. It is a falsehood that feigns promises for its masses and consistently yields only misery. President Ronald Reagan warned, if we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. Truer words have never been spoken. Americans have a choice. We can go down a dark road of chaos and government control, or we can choose the path of freedom and opportunity that was paved by those who sacrificed everything to preserve the American dream for future generations. I have faith that Americans will choose the right path. In 2016, our country yearned for a leader who worked tirelessly to jumpstart our economy and fight for hardworking Americans. Since day one, President Donald Trump has put America first. His pro-growth, pro-jobs agenda has ushered in historically low unemployment, record job creation, higher wages, and rising home ownership. The president is fighting to rescue American jobs and industries, places like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Puerto Rico, jobs that were needlessly shipped overseas. He's defended our religious freedom, stood with democratic allies like Colombia, and shown unwavering resolve while confronting tyrants in countries like Venezuela, Cuba, China, and Nicaragua. In his vow that America will never be a socialist country. Supporting our president requires action. Join me tonight and text VOTE to 88022. We must continue to support our Commander-in-Chief, who has a bold agenda that safeguards the rights and freedoms protected under our Constitution. Today, more than ever, that means supporting our men and women in law enforcement and our heroes in uniform. It means fighting to provide the best quality education by empowering parents and preserving school choice. And it means rejecting the socialist takeover of our nation that will destroy the innovation, economic vitality, freedoms we hold so dear. As a daughter of immigrants, a wife, a mother of three, and the first Latina lieutenant governor in the history of the state of Florida, it is my distinct privilege to share my story, which is really your story, and the story of a nation that has opened its doors, lifted its people, and yielded success in a way only the United States of America can. Together, let's ensure 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump so that he can continue protecting our republic, and so one day our children can proudly tell the story of what our generation did to defend the values of faith, family, and freedom. Thank you. May God bless each one of you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Acting Secretary Wolf, I present to you 5 candidates for naturalization representing 5 countries.
On behalf of everyone here today, I'd like to express my gratitude to you, Mr. President, for hosting this naturalization ceremony here at the White House. To our candidates, it is my honor to administer the oath of allegiance and welcome you as our fellow citizens. Candidates for naturalization, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I hereby declare an oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same,
That I will bear arms
that I will bear arms
on behalf of the United States,
on behalf of the United States,
required by law.
when required by law,
That I will perform
that I will perform
non-combatant service
non-combatant service
in the armed forces of the U.S.
in the armed forces of the U.S.
when required by law.
when required by law,
That I will perform work
that I will perform work
of national importance
of national importance
under civilian direction
under civilian directions
when required by law.
when required by law,
And that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, you're now citizens of the United States of America. On behalf of the Department of Homeland Security, it is my honor to call you my fellow Americans. Mr. President, I want to again commend you for your dedication to the rule of law and for restoring integrity to our immigration system. Thank you for hosting such a patriotic celebration here at the White House today.
Thank you. Congratulations. It's fantastic. It's really great. Thank you. And I want to thank Acting Secretary Wolf, doing a phenomenal job in so many ways. Today, America rejoices as we welcome 5 absolutely incredible new members into our great American family. You are now fellow citizens of the greatest nation on the face of God's earth. Congratulations. Great going. You followed the rules, you obeyed the laws, you learned history, embraced our values, and proved yourselves to be men and women of the highest integrity. It's not so easy. You went through a lot, and we appreciate you being here with us today. You've earned the most prized, treasured, cherished, and priceless possession anywhere in the world. It's called American citizenship. There is no higher honor and no greater privilege, and it's an honor for me to be your president. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to recognize the 5 new citizens who join us today. Robert Martin Ramirez Alcazar is from Bolivia and has been a lawful permanent resident of the United States since 2013. Robert? Hi, Robert. He and his wife are raising 3 beautiful children. In 2017, Robert achieved the dream of starting his own business, a construction company that now employs 5 workers. Robert says, I love this country. I want to respect the law. America has helped me so much in life. Robert, thank you very much for your devotion.
Thank you for bringing this to the United States.
Well, thank you, and good luck with that company. Soon you'll have hundreds of employees, I think, right? Could happen, it will. Rima Gideon is from Lebanon and is the proud mother of 3 children. Rima speaks English, Arabic, and French, and earned a degree in psychology. In other words, she can figure me out. She now works as a daycare teacher in Virginia. Rima says, I feel blessed to be a loyal citizen of the greatest country in the world, a country that has given me the opportunity of a lifetime to realize my potential and my dreams. Rima, congratulations. It's really great. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sundari Narayan is a phenomenal success, born in India, came to the United States 13 years ago. Sudha is a talented software developer. She and her husband are raising 2 beautiful, wonderful children. The apples of your life, right? Well, thank you very much and congratulations. Fantastic. Thank you. Name it, Abdelzai Awalzai is from Sudan, and that's a beautiful name, and has been a lawful permanent resident since 2012. She's the mother of 3 beautiful children, earned a master's degree and PhD in animal nutrition from the University of Wyoming, great place, great state, and she is a trained veterinarian. She's also worked as a substitute teacher for the Alexandria Public School since 2004. That's fantastic. Well, Diamond, thank you very much and congratulations. It's my honor to be with you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Salah Abdul Samad has been looking forward to this day since he arrived in the United States from Ghana in 2015. Salih speaks 5 languages and works the medical field. Salih says that the American citizenship means everything to me in my life. It cannot be measured or quantified. I have the chance to work hard and succeed in life, to know that I am in the safe country like America. That really is something, because I know they have my back. Salih, thank you very much. Congratulations. Fantastic job. Congratulations to everybody. With the rights and freedoms each of you now enjoys as citizens, there is no dream beyond your wildest reach, because Americans can do anything. Today, you have also accepted the profound duties and responsibilities that come with American citizenship. By swearing the oath of allegiance, each of you has entered a sacred and unbreakable covenant with our nation. You have pledged your undying loyalty to the American people, the American Constitution, and the American way of life. The history and heritage of the United States are now yours to preserve and pass down to the next generation. Our culture, our traditions, and our values are now yours to uphold and live by. The rights so dear to every American, granted by us and granted by God, and enshrined in our glorious Bill of Rights, are now yours to support, protect, and defend. As you're now stewards of this magnificent nation, a family comprised of every race, color, religion, and creed. United by the bonds of love, we are one people, sharing one home, saluting one great American flag. Congratulations again to all of you. May God bless you, and may God bless our great country, America.
America. When I stood on this convention stage 4 years ago, no one fully understood the historic change that was about to take place. We could all feel it. Something was happening. A movement was forming just below the surface. The forgotten man and woman, voiceless in Washington, D.C., were preparing to rise up. Our movement followed the pattern of so many that came before us. First, we were ignored. Then we were laughed at. Then they fought us. And then, together, we won. From that moment forward, America came first. America started winning again. America became respected again. But with every movement, there's a counter movement. When you the radical Democrats, America is the source of the world's problems. As a result, they believe the only path forward is to erase history and forget the past. They want to destroy the monuments of our forefathers. They want to disrespect our flag, burn the stars and stripes that represent patriotism and the American dream. They want to disrespect our national anthem by taking a knee while our armed forces lay down their lives every day to protect our freedom. They do not want the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools. Many of them don't want one nation under God. The Democrats want to defund and disrespect our law enforcement. The Democrats want America where your thoughts and opinions are censored when they do not align with their own. President Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, and it must be protected. This is the fight that we are in right now, and it is a fight that only my father can win. My father ran not because he needed the job, because he knew hardworking people across the country were being left behind. But he mocked patriots in the flyover states in which they lived. They ignored the Trump flags. They ignored the millions of MAGA banners and barns painted in red, white, and blue. The silent majority had no one fighting for them in either party. Their so-called leaders were bowing to China, bribing Iran, and spending more time worrying about how they'd be received by the elites in Paris than how Americans would provide for their families in Pittsburgh. Our family lost friends, but it only pushed us to fight harder. My father pledged to every American in every city, state, and town that he was going to make America great again. And so began the great American comeback. Almost immediately, taxes were slashed, regulations were cut, and the economy soared to new heights, heights never seen before. Wages went through the roof. Unemployment reached the historic lows, especially for Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, and women. Trade deals were ripped up and renegotiated. Lights were turned back on in abandoned factories across our country. Trillions of dollars were repatriated back to the United States, which had been sitting in foreign lands for far too long. Once again, America became the envy of the world. And with that renewed strength came leverage. The president demanded that our allies pay their fair share for the defense of the Western world. My father rebuilt the mighty American military, adding new jets, aircraft carriers. He increased wages for our incredible men and women in uniform. He expanded our military defense budget to $721 billion per year. America was no longer weak in the eye of the enemy. The moment President Trump ordered special forces to kill some of the deadliest terrorists on the planet, the day the mighty Moab was dropped on insurgent camps, is the day America took a stance to never be defeated by the enemy. Al-Baghdadi, Soleimani, dead. Over and over, issue after issue, the economy, the wall, the military, trade deals, tax cuts, Supreme Court justices, VA hospitals, prescription drugs, school choice, right to try, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, peace in the Middle East. Never-ending wars were finally ended. Promises made and promises for the first time were kept. Most politicians spend their entire careers in Washington, D.C. and get absolutely nothing accomplished. For example, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a politician who has been in government for 47 years. He's a career politician who's never signed the front of a check and does not know the slightest thing about the American worker or the American business, the engine which fuels the greatest economy the world has ever known. The same politician who has been a total pushover for communist China and someone who gave giant relief for terrorists who now have spent years running, hiding, and being taken out by the most talented military known to man. Joe Biden has pledged to raise your taxes by $4 trillion. 82% of Americans will see their taxes go up significantly. Biden has pledged to stop border wall construction and give amnesty and health care to all illegal immigrants. Biden has pledged to defund the police and take away your cherished Second Amendment. My father, on the other hand, delivered the largest tax cuts in American history, knows if you do not have a border, you do not have a country, and will always support law enforcement and your right to keep and bear arms. Every day, my father fights for the American people, the forgotten man and woman of this country, the ones who embody the American spirit, which is unlike from the world. It built the New York City skyline. It built the Hoover Dam. And soon, under my father's leadership, it will send Americans to Mars. The American spirit will be felt in the majesty of the Grand Canyon, shadows of Mount Rushmore, and the stillness of the air at Gettysburg. It can be seen in the wide-eyed wonder of every American child as they take their first breath in the greatest country the world has ever known. It defeated fascism. It defeated communism. 68 days, it will be empty, oppressive, and radical views of the extreme left. Ronald Reagan's quote ends with this simple warning. One day under sunset, telling our children what was once in the United States where men and women were free. President Trump will never be passed. That's what a vote for Donald Trump represents. It's a vote for the American spirit, the American dream, and for the American flag. To the law enforcement officer who's being attacked, betrayed, and whose job they are trying to make extinct, my father will fight for you. To all houses of worship, and to all people stripped of our religious freedoms and religious liberties, my father will fight for you. To the voiceless, shamed, censored, and canceled, my father will fight for you. To our farmers who work dawn to dusk to keep our plates full, my father will fight for you. To every single mother and father, to our veterans, our clients. I miss working alongside you every single day, but I'm damn proud to be on the front lines of this fight. I'm proud of what you're doing for this country. I'm proud to show my children what their grandfathers fought for. I'm proud to watch you give them hell. Never stop. Continue to be unapologetic. Keep fighting for what is right. You are making America strong again. You are making America safe again. You are making America proud again. And yes, together with the forgotten man and woman who are finally forgotten no more, you are making America great again. Dad, let's make Uncle Robert very week. Let's go get another 4 years. I love you very much. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
We're going to build a future of safety and opportunity for Americans of every race, color, religion, and creed.
Our president has created such a surplus that when this pandemic hit, he was able to refund Americans without indebting us.
We're all better off when former inmates can receive and re-enter society as law-abiding, productive citizens and now have a chance at more opportunities than they've ever had before.
To be incarcerated for 16 and a half years for hearsay. I get emotional about it. It's a feeling that I can't describe.
When people say we're oppressed here in the United States, how?
Right now, this country for me is the last beacon of hope and opportunity. If America falls, the entire world falls.
Trump's pledge to the American workers definitely means a lot to me because I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I truly believe that my kids are going to look up to me one day. It's just tremendous what I could do, I guess.
The forgotten men and women will never be forgotten again.
You know, in Biden's America, there aren't opportunity zones. Here you have an administration that actually looks at how can government and private enterprise work together.
As we fight to deliver a better future for all women and for all Americans, we remember the wonderful victory 1 century ago.
And in the following November, the ladies appeared at the polls on Election Day by the hundreds of thousands. They had won their right to vote.
Before the China virus set in, it struck our nation. Women had gained 4.3 million jobs, a record. The women's unemployment rate had plummeted to the lowest level in more than 65 years. And last year, over 70% of the new jobs went to women. And I will say we're coming back very strongly.
We have the most opportunity.
That's the American story, isn't it? That we have hope, that even though we're in dark days now, that the days ahead hold greater possibilities because of the opportunities that we've been given in our country.
And we will make America great again.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Cameron. I'm 34 years old and the first African-American Attorney General in Kentucky history. It is an honor to be with you as a proud Republican and supporter of Donald J. Trump. I was raised in Kentucky, just a few miles from Abraham Lincoln's birthplace. Our first Republican president believed in compassion, self-reliance, freedom, equality, and justice. Sadly, there are some who don't believe in this wisdom or in the better angels of our shared American history as they tear down the statues of people like Ulysses S. Grant, Frederick Douglass, and even Mr. Lincoln himself. Lincoln said, "Any nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure." And for Republicans, our heroes are those who propelled an imperfect nation ever forward, always striving to make life better for everyone. Even as anarchists mindlessly tear up American cities while attacking police and innocent bystanders, we Republicans do recognize those who work in good faith towards peace, justice, and equality. In fact, it was General Dwight Eisenhower, a future Republican president, who said, "Democracy is a system that recognizes the equality of humans before the law." Whether you are the family of Breonna Taylor or David Dorn, these are the ideals that will heal our nation's wounds. Republicans will never turn a blind eye to unjust acts, but neither will we accept an all-out assault on Western civilization. My values were shaped by my faith and by my parents. I worked at their small coffee shop, meeting people from all walks of life. And I realized something. No matter who we are, everyone needs a cup of coffee. That lesson stuck with me because despite our differences, we all want the same things. For our children to have more opportunities than we did, to feel the dignity of work, and to believe that if you play by the rules, you can make a good life for yourself and your family. So the question is, will we choose the path that gives us the best chance to meet those universal desires? Or will we go backward to a time when people were treated like political commodities who can't be trusted to think for themselves? I think often about my ancestors who struggled for freedom. And as I think of those giants and their broad shoulders, I also think about Joe Biden, who says, "If you aren't voting for me, you ain't black," who argued that Republicans would put us back in chains, who says there is no diversity of thought in the black community. Mr. Vice President, look at me. I am black. We are not all the same, sir. I am not in chains. My mind is my own. And you can't tell me how to vote because of the color of my skin. Joe Biden is a backwards thinker in a world that is craving forward-looking leadership. There's no wisdom in his record or plan, just a trail of discredited ideas and offensive statements. Joe Biden would destroy jobs, raise our taxes, and throw away the lives of countless unborn children. And he is captive to the radical left, a movement committed to cancel culture and the destruction of public discourse. They believe your skin color must dictate your politics. And if you fail to conform while exercising your God-given right to speak and think freely, they will cut you down. The politics of identity, cancellation, and mob rule are not acceptable to me. Republicans trust you to think for yourself and to pursue your American dream however you see fit. Mr. Lincoln said the dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise to the occasion. I believe Donald Trump can meet Lincoln's mandate, even as Joe Biden remains trapped by his own failed record and by the radicals who dominate his party. Let's be honest, no one is excited about Joe Biden. And so I ask you to judge the record. On criminal justice reform, Joe Biden couldn't do it, but President Trump did. On the economy, Joe Biden couldn't do it, but President Trump did build an economy that worked for everyone, especially minorities, and he will do it again. And on immigration, Joe Biden promises more to illegal immigrants than he does to you. But President Trump believes his highest duty is to the American worker. The choice is clear. Let me close with something my mom told me. This country's many faces comprise a family, not separate parts to be divided against each other. And like any family, we care for one another. We grieve together. We share our burdens and our struggles, and we celebrate our successes. And though we fuss and fight, we are not enemies. We are Americans, united by a collective faith in our Constitution and laws and the fundamental fairness they represent. We are defenders of life and of individual liberty, and we carry the mantle of Eisenhower and of Reagan to be a force for good in this world, and one that must always be reckoned with. That's my Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, that believes America is an indispensable nation, an evergreen tree, standing tall in a turbulent world. And that's why I am voting for Donald Trump for president. Thank you, and God bless. And God bless.
Hi, I'm Mike Pompeo. I'm speaking to you from beautiful Jerusalem, looking out over the old city. I have a big job as Susan's husband and Nick's dad. Susan and Nick are more safe, and their freedom's more secure because President Trump has put his America First vision into action. It may not have made him popular in every foreign capital, but it's worked. President Trump understands what my great fellow Kansan President Eisenhower said. For all that we cherish and justly desire for ourselves or for our children, the securing of peace is the first requisite. Indeed, the primary constitutional function of the national government is ensuring that your family and mine are safe and enjoy the freedom to live, to work, to learn, and to worship as they choose. Delivering on this duty to keep us safe and our freedoms intact, this president has led bold initiatives in nearly every corner of the world. In China, he's pulled back the curtain on the predatory aggression of the Chinese Communist Party. The president has held China accountable for covering up the China virus and allowing it to spread death and economic destruction in America and around the world. And he will not rest until justice is done. He has ensured that the Chinese Communist Party spies posing as diplomats in America are jailed or sent back to China. And he has ended the ridiculously unfair trade arrangement with China that punched a hole in our economy. Those jobs are coming back home. In North Korea, the president lowered the temperature and against all odds got the North Korean leadership to the table. No nuclear tests, no long-range missile tests, and Americans held captive in North Korea came home to their families, as did the precious remains of scores of heroes who fought in Korea. Today, because of President Trump, NATO is stronger, Ukraine has defensive weapon systems, and America left a harmful treaty so our nation can now build missiles to deter Russian aggression. And in the Middle East, when Iran threatened, the president approved a strike that killed the Iranian terrorist Qasem Soleimani. This is the man most responsible for the murder and maiming of hundreds of American soldiers and thousands of Christians across the Middle East. And you'll recall, too, that when the president took office, radical Islamic terrorists had beheaded Americans, and ISIS controlled a territory in the size of Great Britain. Today, because of the president's determination and leadership, the ISIS caliphate is wiped out. It's gone. Its evil leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, is dead. And our brave soldiers, they're on their way home. The president exited the U.S. from the disastrous nuclear deal with Iran and squeezed the Ayatollah, Hezbollah, and Hamas. The president, too, moved the U.S. Embassy to this very city of God, Jerusalem, the rightful capital of the Jewish homeland. And just 2 weeks ago, the president brokered a historic peace deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. This is a deal that our grandchildren will read about in their history books. You know, as a soldier, I saw firsthand people desperate to flee to freedom. The way each of us can best ensure our freedoms is by electing leaders who don't just talk, but who deliver. An American hostage, imprisoned in Turkey for 2 years, Pastor Andrew Brunson, said upon his release that he survived his ordeal with these words of Scripture: "Be faithful, endure, and finish well." If we stay the course, we will. May God richly bless you, and may God bless our great nation, the United States of America.
It is my great honor to present First Lady Melania Trump.
First Lady Melania Trump. First Lady Melania Trump officially kicking off her Be Best initiative. She is courageous. She's taking on a tough topic, focused on the well-being of children, social media use, and opioid abuse.
Let's join together in the committing to help children dream big, think big, and do all they can to be best in everything they do.
This is her showcasing what she brings to the position of First Lady.
She is smart, independent, and I think people have underestimated her big time.
First Lady was amazing. She was gracious, empathetic, and showed true compassion.
First Lady Melania Trump stepping out onto the world stage.
Her Be Best campaign is now going international.
She has the advantage of speaking several languages. She can be a diplomat for our country.
The sun was shining. She was greeted by children. This, of course, is her continuing to work on her Be Best campaign by shining a spotlight on successful programs that teach children tools and skills.
She represents our country with enormous warmth and elegance and grace.
Throughout history, women have made lasting impacts on society, and these women represent the strength of the female spirit. As First Lady of the United States, I'm proud of what this country continues to do for women. We as women must continue using our great tool of empowerment, our voices.
It was a very important moment for Melania Trump. This was a really prominent week for her.
The iconic White House Rose Garden has been renovated for the first time in 60 years.
When the history books are written, there should be a special chapter reserved for our First Lady.
She is an incredible First Lady. An amazing mother, an incredible woman, First Lady Melania Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the First Lady of the United States, Mrs. Melania Trump.
Good evening. It seems like just yesterday that we were at our first convention, where my husband accepted the Republican nomination and then became our 45th President of the United States. Yet the energy and enthusiasm for who should lead this nation, it is real today as it was 4 years ago. I know I speak for my husband and the entire family when I say we have not forgotten the incredible people who were willing to take a chance on the businessmen who had never worked in politics. We know it was you who elected him to be commander-in-chief, and we know it is you who will carry us through again. We were humbled by the incredible support then, and we are still grateful today. I want to acknowledge the fact that since March, our lives have changed drastically. The invisible enemy, COVID-19, swept across our beautiful country and impacted all of us. My deepest sympathy goes out to everyone who has lost a loved one, and my prayers are with those who are ill or suffering. I know many people are anxious and some feel helpless. I want you to know you're not alone. My husband's administration will not stop fighting until there is an effective treatment or vaccine available to everyone. Donald will not rest until he has done all he can to take care of everyone impacted by this terrible pandemic. I want to extend my gratitude to all of the healthcare professionals, frontline workers, and teachers who stepped up in these difficult times. Despite the risk to yourselves and your own families, you put our country first, and my husband and I are grateful. I have been moved by the way Americans have come together in such an unfamiliar and often frightening situation. It is in times like this that we will look back and tell our grandchildren that through kindness and compassion, strength and determination, we were able to restore the promise of our future. Businesses stepped up and volunteers stepped in. People were eager to share ideas, resources, and support of all kinds with neighbors and strangers alike. It has been inspiring to see what the people of our great nation will do for one another, especially when we are at our most fragile. Speaking of strength and determination, we recently celebrated the 100-year anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment. Yesterday, on the North Lawn of the White House, we unveiled an exhibit dedicated to women's suffrage. The exhibit called on children from across the country to send art honoring the meaning of this important time in women's history. When I was judging the entries, I reflected on the impact of women's voices in our nation's story, and how proud I will be to cast my vote again for Donald this November. We must make sure that women are heard and that the American dream continues to thrive. Growing up as a young child in Slovenia, which was under communist rule at the time, I always heard about an amazing place called America, a land that stood for freedom and opportunity. As I grew older, it became my goal to move to the United States and follow my dream of working in the fashion industry. My parents worked very hard to ensure our family could not only live and prosper in America, but also contribute to a nation that allows for people to arrive with a dream and make it reality. I want to take the moment to thank my mother and father for all they have done for our family. It is because of you that I'm standing here today. I arrived in the United States when I was 26 years old. Living and working in the land of opportunity was a dream come true, but I wanted more. I wanted to be a citizen. After 10 years of paperwork and patience, I studied for the test in 2006 and became an American citizen. It is still one of the proudest moments in my life because with hard work and determination, I was able to achieve my own American dream. As an immigrant and a very independent woman, I understand what a privilege it is to live here and to enjoy the freedoms and opportunities that we have. As First Lady, I have been fortunate to see the American dream come true over and over again. I have met many inspiring women, children, parents, and families who have overcome life-changing issues that include addiction, homelessness, family members who are ill or have passed away, abuse of all kinds, and many other challenges that would make most people give up. The past 3.5 years have been unforgettable. There are no words to describe how honored, humbled, and fortunate I am to serve our nation as your First Lady. After many of the experiences I've had, I don't know if I can fully explain how many people I take home with me in my heart each day. From brave soldiers who give up so much so that we can be free, to children of all circumstances who I have met around the world. Thank you for inspiring me. It is my greatest honor to serve you. When I speak to members of the military, despite sacrificing time with their families, experience the fear of war or suffering loss, they have no regrets about serving our country. The same goes for their families and the families of first responders who often watch their loved ones walk out the door, not sure if or when they will come home. When I speak to families who have lost someone, the pain mixed with pride I hear in their voices is something I think about often. So thank you to all who serve our country in the military and as first responders. And thank you to the families who wait for them. You are our heroes in your own right. I have also been moved by the many children and families I've spent time with at hospitals, schools, and other locations around the world. Children who are dealing with pain or illness that would break even the strongest adult. Parents who are grateful to wake up every day and see that their child is still alive. These families are a testament to what faith and medicine, strength and science can do. On my first international trip as First Lady, my husband and I visited places of great significance to the three major religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. One special memory from that trip is of a young boy I had privilege of visiting while at Bambino Gesù Hospital in Rome, Italy. While there, I read the little boy a story and learned that he and his family had been waiting for a heart for a very long time, and he had a grim prognosis. His situation brought my staff and me to tears, and we spoke of a little else as we flew to Belgium for the next part of our trip. Upon landing just a few hours later, we learned that a heart had been donated and would be going to the little one. I think about him often, along with so many amazing and strong young patients across our own country. More profound and sadly unavoidable examples of our country's strength and character have occurred in the communities that have been impacted by natural disasters. Hurricanes, tornadoes, and flooding may show the ugly side of Mother Nature, but in their aftermath, they can show us a beautiful side of humanity. My husband and I have visited many places that have been affected by natural disaster, and we are deeply moved by the strength of the people who have lost everything and the kindness of neighbors and communities. The common thread in all of these challenging situations is the unwavering resolve to help one another. I recognize the stories I just told about people who survive extraordinary circumstances. But Donald and I are also inspired by the millions of Americans who wake up each day with a simple yet courageous goal of providing for their families and keeping them safe. You are the backbone of this country. You are the people who continue to make the United States of America what it is, and who have the incredible responsibility of preparing our future generations to leave everything even better than they found it. Just as you are fighting for your families, my husband, our family, and the people in this administration are here fighting for you. No matter the amount of negative or false media headlines or attacks from the other side, Donald Trump has not and will not lose focus on you. He loves this country, and he knows how to get things done. As you have learned over the past 5 years, he is not a traditional politician. He doesn't just speak words. He demands action, and he gets results. The future of our country has always been very important to him, and it is something that I have always admired. In fact, it is to help ensure a better future for our next generation that I launched Be Best, my initiative to help children achieve their fullest potential. Be Best has one simple goal: teaching youth about the importance of their well-being, both mentally and physically. This also includes understanding online safety and the dangers of opioid and drug abuse. Through Be Best, my office and I have been able to highlight people, programs, and organizations that are doing extraordinary things in our country and around the world. I continue to believe that by shining a light on these positive examples, others across the country and globe will become inspired to do their part for our next generation. Helping children is not a political goal. It is our moral imperative. When I think back to a defining moment of Be Best, my mind goes to a trip I took to Africa. On that vast and beautiful continent, I was able to visit the countries of Ghana, Malawi, Kenya, and Egypt. One of those visits in particular had a profound impact on me. Ghana, on the coast of West Africa, was the first stop on my trip, and I experienced firsthand its warm people and their traditions. While there, I visited the Cape Coast Castle and learned more about the beginning of a cruel and often deadly journey in the era of the slave trade. I was horrified when I listened to the guide tell me so many inhumane stories, and I gained new perspectives. It is time in our history we must never forget, so that we can ensure that it never happens again. Like all of you, I have reflected on the racial unrest in our country. It is a harsh reality that we are not proud of parts of our history. I encourage people to focus on our future while still learning from our past. We must remember that today We are all one community, comprised of many races, religions, and ethnicities. Our diverse and storied history is what makes our country strong, and yet we still have so much to learn from one another. With that in mind, I like to call on the citizens of this country to take a moment, pause, and look at things from all perspectives. I urge people to come together in a civil manner so we can work and live up to our standard American ideals. I also ask people to stop the violence and looting being done in the name of justice, and never make assumptions based on the color of a person's skin. Instead of tearing things down, let's reflect on our mistakes, be proud of our evolution, and look to our way forward. Every day, let us remember that we are one nation under God, and we need to cherish one another. My husband's administration has worked to try and effect change when it comes to issues around race and religion in this country. He's the first president to address a special session of the United Nations General Assembly to call upon countries across the world to end religious persecution and honor the right of every person to worship as they choose. He has made substantial investments in our historically Black colleges and universities. This president also continues to fight for school choice, giving parents more options to help their children flourish. My husband knows how to make a real change. From the day that I met him, he has only wanted to make this country the best it can be. For many years, I watched him grow concerned and frustrated, and I'm so proud to see the many things he has done in such a short time. America is in his heart. So while at times we only see the worst of people and politics on the evening news, let's remember how we come together in the most difficult times. And while debate rages on about issues of race, let's focus on the strides we have made and work together for a better tomorrow for everyone. Our administration has also devoted historic resources and produced life-saving results by raising awareness around opioid addiction and drug abuse, especially for children. When so often the headlines are filled with gossip, I want to take this moment to encourage the media to focus even more on the nation's drug crisis. This disease is one that affects everybody. It pays no attention to race, age, or socioeconomic status. Addiction has touched every part of our society in some way. And now, more than ever, we have programs and medicine to combat it. We just need to talk about it openly. And you, the media, have the platforms to make that happen. To the media industry and as a country, I ask that we all commit to helping in our fights against drug addiction by talking about it even more. Especially as we battle the COVID pandemic, we need to remember that suicides are on the rise as people who are struggling with loneliness and addiction feel they have nowhere to turn. Parents, please talk to your children. Teachers and caregivers, pay attention to signs of addiction. Lawmakers, pass legislation that allows those who ask for help to do so safely and without fear, and to provide resources for organizations that help people impacted by addiction. When the stigma is removed, people will no longer be ashamed to ask for help, and lives will be saved. And if you're struggling with addiction, there is no shame in your illness. Please seek help. You are worth it. In my next 4 years as First Lady, I will continue to build upon We Best and work with individual states to pass legislation to take care of our most vulnerable. I plan to continue the work I have started with children in foster care, as well as the minority communities and tribal nations. I want to ensure children are being protected and communities have the resources needed to combat drug addiction and child neglect or abuse. Like my husband and the administration, I will continue to encourage education that supports a child's individual needs. It is vital that children are given the building blocks to succeed. I also look forward to continue my work to restore the People's House, which is a lasting symbol of pride for our nation. I believe this iconic home needs to be cared for and preserved so it can be enjoyed by the people of this country and visitors from around the world for years to come. I'm passionate about this beautiful house, the grounds, and all they represent. And now I have a special message for the mothers of this country. This modern world is moving so fast, and our children face challenges that seem to change every few months. Just like me, I know many of you watch how mean and manipulative social media can be. And just like me, I'm sure many of you are looking for answers how to talk to your children about the downside of technology and their relationships with their peers. Like every parent in this country, I feel there are so many lessons to teach our son and responsibilities as his mother, but there are just not enough hours in the day to do it all. I remind myself that I'm more fortunate than most and still have days that I look for wisdom and strength to do the very best I can for him. To mothers and parents everywhere, you are warriors. In my husband, you have a president who will not stop fighting for you and your families. I see how hard he works each day and night, and despite the unprecedented attacks from the media and opposition, he will not give up. In fact, if you tell him he cannot be done, he just works harder. Donald is a husband who supports me in all that I do. He has built an administration with an unprecedented number of women in leadership roles and has fostered an environment where the American people are always the priority. He welcomes different points of view and encourages thinking outside of the box. I know I speak for my husband and the family when I say we are so grateful that you have trusted him to be your president, and we will be honored to serve this incredible country for 4 more years. As you have heard this evening, I don't want to use this precious time attacking the other side, because as we saw last week, that kind of talk only serves to divide the country further. I'm here because we need my husband to be our president and commander-in-chief for 4 more years. He is what is best for our country. We all know Donald Trump makes no secrets about how he feels about things. Total honesty is what we as citizens deserve from our president. Whether you like it or not, you always know what he's thinking. And that is because he's an authentic person who loves this country and its people and wants to continue to make it better. Donald wants to keep your family safe. He wants to help your family succeed. He wants nothing more than for this country to prosper, and he doesn't waste time playing politics. Almost 4 years ago, we went into Election Day completely underestimated. Despite what is being said again this year, I know, just as you do, that Americans will go to the polls and vote on the behalf of their families, our economy, our national security, and our children's future. To vote for those ideals is not a partisan vote. It is a common sense vote, because those are goals and hopes that we all believe in. I believe that we need my husband's leadership now more than ever in order to bring us back once again to the greatest economy and the strongest country ever known. God bless you all, your families, and God bless the United States of America.
I think this might be it. That was a very good night. It was understated than it was before. It's fantastic. So I'll leave it here on this shot here. I won't break away yet. If she was your mom, you might grow 3 feet. That's how tall Aaron. Gracious. All right. All right, so what y'all think about that? Pretty awesome, right? So what I'm going to do right now, I queued some stuff up. I want to show you a couple of things. Before I get into the actual speech of what she talked about and what the night, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I got, just like last night, I got to go do some real work. But I just want to talk about a few things here quickly. I want to just jump over to Parler real quick and check out a bunch of those, well, a few of these. They're called parlays in Parler, not called tweets, but essentially Parler is a Twitter facsimile. And James Woods here says, who I'm sure you know who he is, says, am I going to have to watch CNN? Fox News refuses to air the full convention. What is going on with Fox News? That's why I didn't want to, when I switched over to the different feed, I didn't want to go to Fox News. Normally I would have gone to Fox News, but I didn't want to go there. And I think what happened was, I think it just got overrun. The RNC feed went down. I went over to the Trump feed, and that was set at 1080p, which is the highest quality. And so it was lagging. I thought, well, maybe that's probably lagging. So I went down to 720, didn't change. Went down to 4, whatever the one below that is. That didn't change. And now, so, let's just go to, because when Eric Trump came up, he was just really, it was bad. So I went to C-SPAN. That seemed to be pretty well. So I'll remember that for next time. So anyway, there's another one here says here, this person says, I am so incredibly impressed by everyone who spoke today at the RNC 2020. God bless America. It's so refreshing to see another side of Trump. I'm not going to read stuff that I read, so I got to screen it first before I read it. Are we feeling a little better with a November victory after watching this RNC 2020? I would say absolutely yes. And so what I want to say quickly is this. Let me get off this real quickly. Let me get back to you. I'll go back to here. This is fine. Hope this background isn't too distracting. So anyway, so a couple key points that were mentioned. They spent a lot of time on various issues, but this was the land of opportunity. So they were going to look at America as a land of opportunity. That's the theme for tonight. As we all know, America is the land of opportunity, even though Democrats want to say otherwise. They want to say it's a land of oppression. But Tiffany spoke about big tech. I thought that was pretty smart for her to do that, being younger generation. I guess she's generation, what is she? I guess she's generation Y. I guess she's a millennial. So that was a good thing to talk about. It seemed authentic from her. And then I guess we got to talk about the big thing that happened this night. And that's the naturalization that they did ceremony that I've never really witnessed. I don't believe I've ever witnessed one, and certainly not with the president. And I thought that was, whoever came up with that idea was just, oh my gosh, the optics on that was just out of this world. Probably the best optics of the night, to see different nationalities come into this country, grateful, raising their hand, pledging their allegiance to this country, pledging to defend this country by bearing arms. It was just a powerful thing. And the qualifications that they were saying, what they were able to do, in their lives, the education that they had and the experiences was just that cannot be overstated. Okay. I hope that's a big thing tomorrow in terms of the stories that come out of this, because it was just such a really, really nice touch there, right there on the East Wing, right there where I think that's more like the west side of the that's east side of the White House. But anyway, neither here nor there. So, and then we talked about a little bit about cancel culture. Had Sandmann came up, talk about that and talk about his experience. I had never heard him really speak on that subject matter, and he seems determined to continue on. I thought that was a really good thing to talk about. And what's interesting was they even brought up social justice, and I think it was who's the lady who from what was her name? She's a big, I can't think of her name, but she's a big celebrity. She said today on Twitter that she was just so upset that the Republicans actually talked about caring about social justice. And by the way, let me just first say this: social justice, I'm saying it in terms of just talking point, not that I really believe in social justice. Because if you have to qualify justice, it's not really justice. But so work with me here. I don't feel like explaining it and stating what I'm trying to say. But they mentioned in there, I think the gentleman speaker, I forget when he was. He was the lieutenant governor from, I believe it was Kentucky, I believe. He mentioned Breonna Taylor, which is something you don't hear very much from a Republican, and Officer Dorn, two black people who were killed in different ways. Okay, Breonna is a case which a knock warrant, and there's some gray area in there. I don't want to talk about that. I don't have all the facts on that one. But Dorn was the one who was killed on the street trying to defend a buddy of his store. He was just shot in the head, and officer was retired. And I thought him bringing those things up. He said, if you're the family of either one of these two people, we can at least come together on this, and that we can agree that this stuff is wrong, but we don't have to tear the country down because of it. And I thought that was a really, really good way to frame that particular argument. And of course, Melania comes in here and talks about opioids. Am I? Hopefully, my microphone's on. Okay, my microphone is on. I was afraid my microphone wasn't on. And so, because I would have been bad if I had been speaking this long and no microphone. But yeah, so then Melania comes up, and then she stresses about the opioid crisis, which she really talked in extent about how don't be ashamed of. If that's something that you have a problem with, get help, and you can overcome it. It was a very uplifting message. And in general, her message was uplifting. She refused to attack Biden. In fact, if you looked at this election tonight, or this night in terms of the speakers, they were talking political negatives. They weren't really going after him like that they come after Trump, right? It was just constructive criticism of Biden, which is totally above board. It was really classy. And I think that's going to resonate with people, especially independents, because people don't want to see that backfighting, and why lash back at it? Because Trump does enough for everyone else anyway, so there's no need for anyone else to defend Trump. He can defend himself on his own. But then she mentioned something I thought was interesting. She mentioned 3 points in a row I raised my eyebrow and I was like, wow, that's not something you hear very often from a Republican first lady or for anyone. She mentioned about the rioting, about how that wasn't a good thing, tearing up Black communities. But then she mentioned about HBCUs and how that was something that President Trump has done more than any president in history. I did a video on this where President Trump, and I picked sources from leftist media to prove this out. President Trump has given more money to historically Black colleges and universities. I went to one personally than any other president in history, including Obama. She mentioned that. And the third thing she mentioned was school choice. She rattled these things off 3 in a row of key issues that the Black community is in favor of. I mean, it's something that's really important to people in the Black community. And at one point, school choice was a nonpartisan issue. I remember being asked to be part of a coalition locally to help speak to families about school choice. I was the Republican counterpart. The other person who asked me to come on was a big Democrat. And of course, this is 8 years ago, so you could do that back then. And I just was shocked to see how much people cared about that particular issue. And the good thing about school choice is that it can be tailored to any area you go into. It doesn't come in all flavors. Not every school choice program has vouchers, for example. It's just different things. Some involve homeschool, some involve charter school, some involve all the above. But it's tailored by the people of the community for what they want. And that's something that the Democrats just don't want to talk about. And I think it's one of the most blatant, I guess racist is a loose term. It's one of the most blatant, inconsiderate things, I'll say that, to people who are not just Black, but people who just can't afford to go anywhere else because they pigeonhole you into these school districts, and some of them just aren't very good. And then to have a person, a parent, a father, a mother, to have a child, even a grandchild, because sometimes grandchildren are being raised by the grandparents, to have them want to excel, but they can't because they're in a bad area is just criminal, in my opinion. And so to wrap this up, she mentioned about foster care, which is also a big thing in this community, in this country that isn't talked about at all. You know, we have a crisis going on in our child care industry. I have a friend of mine who does that sort of thing. She's a liaison between foster kids and the people who take them in, and she's an advocate with the judge. She's an intermediary between the judge and the parents and the foster care program. And she just tells me horror stories about these kids and what's going on with them. And for her to bring that up was awesome and very important, I think. She brought up social media. She talked about big tech again, about how, she didn't mention bullying because she talked about that earlier in her stint as a first lady, but she led into that bullying or parents who have kids that are on social media who are intimidated by the technology, don't know where to go, that there needs to be ways to help alleviate parents' fears, because social media, I tell you, man, Twitter is a total cesspool. I'm glad right now that I'm on Parler now, because Twitter is it's just the worst. It's absolutely the worst. And so I can see where people could have problems with that. I wrote some notes here. I scribbled this. I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, okay. Yes. So then she talked about President Trump and how he works hard and how he, if told no, works harder. And I've done some research on him over the past year or so, 2 years or so, and just studying him. And one key thing was when his dad had the Trump Corporation, they were, if I'm saying this wrong, I'm sorry. It was either the Bronx that they were in. They were doing low income housing for areas. And it was an area that they had a good niche in, and they were doing well. They weren't broke. They weren't starving. They were doing pretty well. But his son, President Trump, wanted to go into Manhattan. And Fred said, who was his dad, said, don't do it. You can't do it. That's for the big boys. It cannot be done. And Trump said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And he literally owned the 80s. That's the first point I want to talk about. And the second thing was that he grew up in an area in his household where his parents listened to Norman Vincent Peale, who was the writer of Power of Positive Thinking. he read that book many times. They had the actual album playing all day long of just Norman Vincent Peale talking about positive thinking, and how that's. And let me get rid of this here. This is terrible. Let me get rid of this. It's really distracting. Okay, let's do that. And how that influenced. Let me do this again. Sorry, got to transition over. Sorry, production problems. And that influenced President Trump to be who he is, and that in combination with his parents' upbringing, with his tenacity and other character traits that he has, it's just like, literally God put him in a place right now when we need someone like him the most. So, and lastly, I mentioned that already about not attacking Joe Biden. I just think this was a fantastic, awesome convention so far. We're halfway through, and tomorrow we'll do this again, and hopefully it will be something that will be memorable as well. And I'm curious to know what the ratings are going to be for tonight. I'm pretty sure it's going to be higher than well, we don't know how it's going to be. Second night could be lower, but I'm just curious to see what's going to be there. I think the people that did see it, I think, are going to be swayed, who are sitting on the fence. I don't know how you can't be. So with that, I'm tired of talking. So anyway, yeah. So thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Yeah, Right Side Broadcasting. Yeah, Angel says Foxx with a mean face. Yeah, what better way to go atop? Wait, I'll just put it on the screen. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Exactly right. If she was a Dem, the libs would be drooling all over Jackie O. And she reminded me a lot of Jackie O in terms of her love for the White House, right? I mean, Jackie O, you watch the old footage where she's coming in, well, and she got the Boston accent, and I'm going to do this, and this is just over here, and then we're going to do this. It was just watching those White House videos back in the 60s was just really cool watching that. And it reminds me of that because Jackie O she's the reason why the White House is sort of the way it is now. Other first ladies have done it prior to her, but she took it to another level. So yeah, testament to freedom. Yep. Look, I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I really do. And for those of you who may be first time out, checking us out and dealing with us, I really appreciate it. We're the conservative take. We take culture, TV, movies, and politics, and we filter it to the right, where we show you a side of things which doesn't have the leftist lean to it. Obviously, we're pro-Trump, and looking forward to the election to see him get reelected. So with that, if you guys want to text me on Parler, or if you want to hang out with me a little bit on Facebook, whatever, if you know where I'm at there, or social medias, I'll be up till pretty late tonight. So without further ado, guys, I want to thank you again for coming out and hanging out with us. And so I will see you guys next time. I can't think of anything else I'm missing, but I think that's it. So all right, now we'll take care, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.